Trump says, Vladimir, stop after Russia strikes Kyiv amid ceasefire talks. China tariff de-escalation. Has America lost its sauce? FBI raids Palestinian activist homes. Brits come after kneecap for saying fuck Israel and more. Get in now. Maybe because you don't give her enough attention. Ladies need attention law. It's true. Do we have a blast off image? Did you see the Sean O'Brien tweet? Yeah, I covered it yesterday. I did. Do we? Okay, give me a real blast off image, bro. This one sucks. Ah, fuck it, whatever. I'll do the Trump Abe tweet, whatever. Who cares? Okay, it doesn't suck. Thank you for giving me anything. You know what I mean? There you go. Here it is, folks. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Trump says, Vladimir, stop after Russia strikes Kyiv amid ceasefire talks. China tariff de-escalation as America lost its sauce. FBI raids Michigan Palestinian activist homes. Brits come after kneecap for saying fuck Israel and more. Get in now. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, he said, have sex. See you soon, space cowboy. This is a deep fried, this is a meme that is hard to decipher if you are unfamiliar with the late and great Shinzo Abe. That's right. Shinzo Abe. He made that mistake. Big mistake, he said to the weebs. Hikikomori, they call him. Folks, Hikikomori. Shinzo Abe. He wanted them to fuck. He wanted them to have sex. And then it came after him. They said, no, we will not have sex. Mr. Abe. These kids, the Hikikomori, they like 2D women. They like 2D women more than they like 3D women. I tell them you can grab them by the pussy. It's so good. It's so good when you grab them like that. They say, no, Mr. President, no, I want my pillow. I want my body pillow. Hassan, your title is the same as yesterday. No, it's not. It's because here, I'll just delete one part of it so you can. I barely changed it. As a Jewish person, I beg you to find Jesus. 2D, I love that word. What a great word. I have the best words. 2D. Women are 2D. They like them. They like them a lot. And they like them a lot. They say, Hatsune Miku. She dances. She dances so good. She dances like no one's ever danced before. Everything computer. Even the women are computers now. All the women are computer. I tell them, have sex. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let's just get to the fucking live stream of Donald Trump talking to the Norwegian. Oh, wait, it ended. It just ended. All right, let's hear what the question and answer segment looked like for the live stream.
It would have never happened if I were president. Zero chance it was going to. And it didn't. You know, people say, how do you know that? Number one, it didn't happen. We never even discussed it. I would talk to Putin about it. It was the apple of his eye. You know, Ukraine was the apple of Putin's eye, but there was never even a thought that he'd go.
I do think it's funny. I will admit, I do think it's funny that he just like laid all the cards on the table and just kept glazing Putin, and in the most ridiculous way possible, attacking Zelensky. Zel Disney, he's got no motion, he's got no cards. And then Vladipu turned around and basically was like, yeah, you don't have the cards either, dumbass. Fantastic. Very cool, sir. Very cool. That was brilliant statesmanship, okay? So exactly like you and Biden, Trump never thought Putin would invade Ukraine. Okay, first of all, Biden doesn't think anything. Q&A started at like 15 minutes. Lots of questions on Russia, Ukraine. Yeah, I don't want to watch the whole thing. We'll just watch some of it. But my point is, Donald Trump thought that, I think he thought that Putin actually likes him and respects him and isn't just like playing a role where he gives him what he says what Donald Trump wants to hear and is easily manipulated. And this is precisely what's going on. He got manipulated. He thought, oh, well, Vladipu likes me, and Disney, I hate him. He's woke. He's woke, folks. It's DEI. Ukraine's got DEI policies. We must stop it. And then And he took it seriously. He took it seriously. And lo and behold, look at that. He gave everything. He basically gave everything to Vladipu. Everything. And I mean everything. He gave him more than I thought he would give him. Okay? Literally all the territories, de facto recognition that, oh, did it F? A lot of people are saying no F, but I didn't experience an F on my end. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, as I was saying, what happened here, as we covered yesterday, is that Donald Trump basically gave Vladimir Putin everything, okay? De facto recognition of all the territories that Russia has annexed so far inside of Ukraine, eastern Ukraine, and official legal recognition for Crimea for Russia. And on top of that, Ukraine obviously saying that they're not going to, they're never going to join NATO, all that stuff. That's valid. And there was like maybe a little bit of a gimme for Zelensky in that process where they were like, well, and they can join the EU if they want to, right? And also the mineral extraction / security cooperation agreement where Russia and America basically take on all of the remaining natural resources that Ukraine has for profit, which is a ridiculous deal. It's not valid. What the fuck? Wait, what? Ukraine being allowed into the European Union is not valid? What are you saying? This guy's like, no, Ukraine means the Ukraine. It means the border. It is part of Russia. It is part of Greater Russian Federation. Anyway, and all of that was not enough, it seems, because while this ceasefire negotiation is taking place, what ends up happening is Vladimir Putin last night bombs Kyiv, which is insane. Okay, basically saying, I hold the cards. Okay, it's not Zelensky that holds the cards, and it's not Trump that holds the cards. I hold the cards. Recognizing that Trump is in a dangerous position, or rather a politically tumultuous position, considering that he ran on ending the war, and the only way to do that is by getting Vladimir Putin to agree to end his invasion and his bombing campaign. He is taking advantage of the way that Donald Trump has foolishly presented this argument. I'm sorry, but Ukraine not being able to join NATO is so stupid. Any country can apply to join any alliance they want. Wonder if the U.S. would be so cool making deals where they're told what they can't do, lol. First of all, this is such a funny fucking take, because how do you think American global hegemony has worked so far? Why do you think that China cannot create a cooperative security agreement in the South China Sea with all of the nations involved? There's one nation that is simply saying, no, we don't want to do that, as a matter of fact. Do you think they're doing that because of their own personal opinions, or do you think it's because America is forcing them to, or, goading them to? I'm talking, of course, about Pinoy Gang. Shouts out to my Swagapinos. Much love to you. I hope the next pope is Swagapino. But when it comes to creating an Asian security cooperation agreement in the South China Sea, the one holdout here is the Pinoy Gang, and they are doing that specifically because America is stopping them from doing so. It's the underpinning of every agreement that has ever taken place outside of America's. America spoils, famously, every single cooperative agreement. The problem is you are basically anti-Trump, so everything you say is going to come off from this perspective, no matter what he does. I think you haven't been in here long enough, because even on accident, if Donald Trump ends up arriving at the correct position on foreign policy, and it does happen sometimes, ironically enough, I do give him credit. Like, I don't care who is doing these decisions. I famously, in his first term, praised his handling of Korea. You just proved what I said? Wait, no. What? I thought you just said peace talks were over and Putin fooled Trump, or is that just wishful thinking? No, Vladimir Putin is saying, I mean, if you don't understand that this is Vladimir Putin basically flexing that he has all the cards here, I don't know what to tell you. There is a there is a ceasefire agreement on the table that literally gives Vladimir Putin everything he wants. Everything. Okay? Straightforwardly, everything he wants. This is the best deal that Vladimir Putin could have gotten out of this process, beyond basically full-blown annexation and recognition of the entirety of Ukraine being under the Russian Federation. Like, Donald Trump didn't come out and say, the Ukraine is actually the border of Russia, and therefore all of the Ukraine is a part of Russia. This is the one thing that he did not do. Okay? And in the process, he kept yelling at our proxy, Zelensky, undermining his position over and over and over again at the behest of Russia, giving Russia an upper hand in these negotiations. You said even if he does something right on accident, you'll give him credit? Yeah. What's the problem? I didn't just prove. You just prove what I said. I don't think you understand. I have this exact same assessment about Democrats as well. I don't know if you recognize that or not. I think like American foreign policy broadly is pretty violent and pretty awful. And every now and then they accidentally arrive at like a good position, Democrat and Republican alike. And I will recognize that. Yeah, I said during the Gaza ceasefire, for example, that although I believe that there is a nefarious purpose with the ceasefire, it's good to offer a moment of respite to the Palestinians, for example. Like the Donald Trump administration showed that the Biden administration's incompetence was great, that they just simply couldn't make a phone call to shut this up, to shut Israel up. Anyway, let's continue.
You lack support from NATO allies in your goal of obtaining Greenland. How will you proceed if you don't get that support?
Well, Greenland's going to be interesting, but that's for another day. I think we need that for international peace.
What are you expecting of your
And if you
allies?
don't have that, I think it's a big threat to our world. So I think Greenland's very important for international peace. Yeah, please go ahead.
I wish October 7 never happened to begin with. Ukraine would be in a better position. No, it wouldn't. Ukraine's issues against Russia isn't a lack of equipment. I mean, that's part of it. To say that it's not just a lack of equipment would be false. But Ukraine's issues against mounting a strong defense against Russian incursion into further and further Ukrainian territory is a lack of manpower. It's not just that like America shifted its attention and priorities over to defending Israel's genocide. That's just marketing. The real, like, I would say, I think that this entire process fell apart in the spring counteroffensive. When the spring counteroffensive was propped up as the most successful counteroffensive that was going to finally strike a blow and push back Russia from at least some of the territories, and it yielded no positive results. That's when this was packed up. I feel like that was when it was, that was the death blow. What is even the basis of saying October 7 not happening would have benefited Ukraine in any way? It's because chatter thinks that America's attention shifted over to Israel and defending Israel's genocide. And if it had never happened, that America would be still promoting Ukrainian defense or whatever. But I don't think that was the case. Chatter is not right. No. I think it played a role in erasing Ukraine from the broad American consciousness. But that's to say that that played a major role is to avoid talking about the actual situation on the battleground even before October 7.
Putting more pressure on Russia. I know a lot of Europeans.
Putting a lot of pressure. You don't know what pressure I'm putting on Russia. They're dealing. You have no idea what pressure I'm putting.
That statement does not account for our historical relationship with Israel. That too, but ultimately it's...
We're putting a lot of pressure.
Can you maybe tell us that?
We're putting a lot of pressure on Russia, and Russia knows that, and some people that are close to it know, or he wouldn't be talking right now. The Prime Minister understands that better than anybody. He wouldn't be talking right now. He's talking, and we're putting a lot of pressure. I think he wants to make a deal. We're going to find out very soon, but it takes two to tango, and you have to have Ukraine want to make a deal too, and they're being hit very hard, and I do believe they want to make a deal.
I don't know if I don't know why he has this level of confidence. Reporter asks, do you still agree that Ukraine has to give up some territory?
You said that the Ukraine have to give some territory to win peace, among them Crimea. Do Do you stand by that? And I know that the former NATO General Secretary today has told you that he does not.
Yeah, big pressure applied to Russia here for bombing Kiev. What is the big pressure? Saying, Vladimir, stop. Not looking too good, Vladimir. Don't like it. You're making me very sad.
Not agree, and he believes in territorial integrity of the Ukraine. How will you deal with that with your allies? And do you stand by that Ukraine have to give?
Former Secretary General happens to be right here, you know, so they can't put words in his mouth. He's been a great general, frankly. It was because that's what you are. Really, you're a general. But he's been a great Secretary General. We had a tremendous relationship, very successful, and I think he could speak for himself. He's right here.
But do you still agree that Ukraine have to give some territory away to win peace?
Well, it depends what territory. They've been fighting. They've lost a lot of territory. We'll do the best we can, working with Ukraine. We'll do the best we can. But they lost a lot of territory. When you say Crimea, that was handed over during a president named Barack Hussein Obama. That had nothing to do with me, Crimea. That was 11 years ago with Obama. And they made a decision. There was an...
I love that he talks about American foreign policy as though it's not like a continuation, one administration after the other, but instead exclusively the fault of individual administrations that are not him. He is infallible, and it's actually Barack Obama that fucked up, and then it's Joe Biden that fucked up, and he's actually trying to fix those problems. People do eat this shit up, by the way. They 100% believe him when he says stuff like that. Like this I think is in the eyes of his sycophantic cult, this is the most defensible position, even though everything he has done so far is, you know, utterly indefensible. If it was Joe Biden behaving like this, Republicans would be losing their goddamn minds over it. Okay. Yeah, it's incredible how he has somehow managed to convince an entire quarter of this country that his actions have zero impact on the situation and the blame is to be circumvented to Obama. Yeah, it's awesome.
Bullet fired. There was no fighting. There was no anything. They just handed it over. Now they say, well, can you get it back? I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to do. That was given by Barack Obama when he was president, not by Donald Trump.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Once you accept that the average voter is brain dead, politics start making a lot more sense. I mean, we're not even talking about the average voter right now. The average politician is also brain dead.
Because we're nice people, and we are nice people, but we're using a lot of pressure.
What concessions, Mr. President, and to your national security team, what concessions has Russia offered up thus far to get to the point where you're closer to peace?
Stopping the war, taking the whole country. Pretty big.
This right here is quite literally just an admission of total defeat. Okay? He's basically saying, "Oh, if we don't get Vladimir Putin to stop bombing Ukraine, he's just going to take the entire country." That's art of the deal, baby. Art of the deal. Art of the deal. Okay? God damn, America's on its no motion arc, okay? We have officially reached the era of major aura loss, no motion. We get no bitches. Our weed is no longer stinky. It is no longer loud. Our weed is quiet. And we get no bitches whatsoever. We have no motion on the global stage. Major aura loss for the United States of America. It is crazy. It is crazy, dude. You know what the Bernie does to the Palestinian cause on the other side? You do that for Kashmir. The poor Kashmiris are being blamed for Hindutva fascists and their pogroms happening in Kashmir that no one is covering. No, I'm not doing that. I said I'm going to get to it today. I'm going to talk about it today. I brought it up in my Instagram stories when I was doing my Go Live post. Also, it's ridiculous, okay? It's a fucking ridiculous statement to make because I have talked about, is it effing again? What the hell is going on today? It's not on my end. I don't know what this is. I don't know what's happening. There's no issue on my end. I think Twitch is a little messed up, maybe. But as I was stating, okay, in terms of Kashmir, I've talked about it before. I've covered it extensively. This last bout, I am unfamiliar with what happened. There was a lot of misinformation in the aftermath of such incidents flying around for the past 2 days, and obviously it's heating up to become a major geopolitical issue. So I will cover it. Also, there has never been a moment where to compare me to Bernie Sanders in this regard is so stupid, because I've never maintained the position that, like, India is a Hindu nation and that Hindu people have a right to exist, and Modi is bad, but the broader nationalist movement is actually very good, and that all this stuff like defending the Indian position on Kashmir. I've never done that. If you have listened to my commentary in the past on the issue, you would know that that's not my position at all. Anyway, but yeah, later, Arun says, let me know when you're covering it. I have resources on what's going on, and I can come on. Hell yeah. We'll do that.
Concession.
Crazy. Big concession is Vladimir Putin doesn't take the rest of Ukraine. Okay.
If you look at what happened, everyone said, oh, I said I was going to get prices down. I did. Energy just hit $1.98 in a couple of states. It's way down. Energy's down, and we're about $64 a barrel. When I came in, and we were looking at $89, $90, $95. And by the way, that helps us solve the war too. Having those energy prices is a big incentive for Russia to also agree with solving the war problem. Groceries are down. When I was with you 2 months ago, you were complaining about eggs. I said I just got here. I've been here for about a week when the press started saying about eggs have gone through the roof. I said I just got here. Tell me about eggs, and they happened. They went through the roof, and you couldn't get them. So we just had a big Easter egg hunt at the White House. Thousands and thousands of eggs.
You know how expensive the eggs were? So expensive. So expensive. All right, so those are some of the highlights from this idiotic back and forth that he had in the White House, standing next to the Prime Minister of Norway. But here is, of course, a major update on China trade talks as Donald Trump takes multiple questions in the aftermath. So we're going to take a look at this as well. This was earlier in the day before the last round of questions and answers. Oh. That close up. He really does look like that pig photo. You know, the pig eye photo? He does straight up look like that. It's crazy.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor to have the highly respected, the great Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Norway with us today, who, as you know, has been doing a fantastic job and truly respected throughout the world as a leader. And thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. And we're going to be having a meeting in the Oval Office in a little while where you'll be invited back and you can ask some questions. It's also a pleasure to have my friend who did such a good job at NATO, my great friend, right? So you really did. We started off, they had no money, and they ended up having a lot of money after we said, you got to pay up. But you did a fantastic job, and thank you very much. And I'm glad you're here. Glad we meet each other again under these circumstances. So we'll be meeting in a little while at the Oval Office, and if you have maybe one or two questions, we'll do it now. And after that, we'll go to the Oval.
Mr. President, on Russia, do you still believe that Putin is serious about peace given the events overnight in Ukraine? And if that bombing doesn't end, are you considering new sanctions on Russia?
So we are thinking that very strongly that they both want peace, but they have to get to the table. We're waiting a long time. They have to get them to the table, and I think we're going to get peace. We want to save 5,000 young people. I used to say 2,500. I now say 5,000. We have, Mr. Prime Minister, we have about 5,000 young people a week that are dying in that ridiculous war. And, I started out because I didn't like all the money that we were paying, and then I realized how many people were dying. And that's by far the more important element right now. I'm saying we can save thousands of people. I don't like that it takes long at all, but I think they both want to make peace. I do believe so. There's a lot of hatred there. There's a lot of very bad blood, a lot of distrust. But I think I hope we're going to get there for the sake of a lot of young people that are dying.
Has Ukraine ever reached out to non-NATO Eastern European countries that have a similar relationship with Russia at the moment, like Georgia, to join the war in solidarity? I'm not pro-war, but there's no ceasefire armistice. Ukraine will have needed boots on the ground helping them. Are they just cooked? So as far as Ukraine goes, I've said this before. There are a couple options on the table, okay? Either you take the shittiest deal of all time, led by Donald Trump, the shittiest deal maker of all time, where you basically sell off your natural resources and allow Russia to permanently annex Eastern Ukrainian territories, maybe move into an insurgency battle later down the line to make it costly for the Russian occupation to the best of your ability as you train, troops and whatnot and engage in acts of insurgency, right? Which is what I suspect is the, I guess, in all of the shittiest options of all time, this is the best possible option that is in front of Ukraine, right? This is the one that at least the Trump administration is putting forward. Other options in terms of continuing, the other options in terms of like continuing the war are as follows. One, Ukraine says no to this deal. America removes its support for Ukraine. European allies try to make up for the demand in weapons. It's not going to work. And in that process, they lose out even more territory because they don't have a standing military that can withstand further Russian incursion. Now, if that's what's going to happen, there's a couple different things that the European partners could do, right? One, Ukraine lowers the age of conscription from, as they did, from 27 to 25. They lowered even further to 18, basically eroding its future, destroying its future in its entirety, right? They lower the conscription to 18. More forcible conscriptions take place. There's already a lot of issues with deserters and corruption in the front lines. Why do you hate Ukraine and Kamala and love Trump and Russia? It's because I'm agent of Krasnov. All right. So Ukraine lowers the age of conscription. And on top of that, Ukraine will go to the United States of America and also Europe to forcibly deport Ukrainian men, like able-bodied Ukrainian men that could be serving in the Ukrainian defense. And they ship them off back to Ukraine by force using ICE or their internal immigration enforcement agencies. And they ship them back to Ukraine and force them to fight. Okay. Or there is another nuclear option. And none of these, by the way, are guaranteed to deliver any sort of emancipatory victory for the Ukrainian state. Okay. Another option is to disband NATO so that there is no, or I guess like maybe revoke Article 5. I don't know if you can even do that. If the European states actually wanted to truly defend Ukraine, they would need to send their own personal military to Ukraine. But as it stands, they can't send their personal military to Ukraine. There's many issues with that to begin with. There's not a lot of troops. There's not a lot of combat readiness for a lot of European countries in general. But like Ukraine needs manpower, right? They need manpower. You say, what about mercenaries? Well, they have already done that. There's a foreign legion, right? A lot of people have volunteered to go and fight in Ukraine. It's not enough. Clearly, that's not enough. So what needs to happen, what would need to happen in this process is basically like standing militaries and special forces from European countries to go and fight at the behest of Ukraine to defend, to push back Russia from Ukraine, to deliver a striking blow, to deliver an actual blow to Russia that says Russia has, to force Russia to concede, okay, to change the dynamic of the battlefield as it currently stands. Now, that is also complicated. Part of the reason why it's complicated is because all of a sudden that opens up Russia to attacking European infrastructure, to opens up Russia into directly going to war with a lot of these European nations, right? And as it stands, while Russia being a nuclear nation, as it stands, Russia does engage in nuclear brinksmanship. And also on top of that, given that these are NATO nations, currently Article 5 would be triggered if there are direct American or European NATO nation troops inside of Ukraine fighting against Russian troops. Okay? So that's why I said the other option in this circumstance would be to, like, I guess, revoke Article 5 or to disband NATO and then send European troops into Ukraine to defend Ukraine, to push back Russia. But in the absence of all of these options, the major problem that exists for Ukraine is a lack of manpower. It's not just that there aren't enough weapons in the hands of Ukrainian soldiers. That certainly is a factor as well, right? We offloaded a bunch of our old refurbished gear and weapons we dumped it into Ukraine, and very slowly allowed Ukraine to use more and more, more and more equipment over time, readjusting it to Russian nuclear brinksmanship. We just pushed and pulled at times. And while on the one hand, those weapons did allow the Ukrainian defense to actually push back Russia from Kyiv to eastern territories, it's still not enough. It clearly did not. It clearly did not save Ukraine, because Russia then hardened their positions on the eastern territories, right? So that's the situation on the ground. And any number of different analysts that tell you, like, no, drone warfare changes the dynamic greatly, or we just need one final push. Those guys have been saying that. Those guys have been saying that since day one, right? They've nonstop said that. But unfortunately, the situation on the ground, the situation on the front lines, is very different than the way it's being presented by these analysts who don't have anything to lose in this process and might even stand to gain if they are, I don't know, directly doing propaganda for the military-industrial complex. But what, in my opinion, completely stopped this or completely changed the dynamic and made the Ukrainian position impossible to defend was the counteroffensive, the spring counteroffensive, right? Like, once that fell apart, it was over. That's what I think was the biggest blow for Ukrainian defense. And since then, they've been in a holding pattern as Russia has hardened its positions. They've dug into the eastern territories. They've mined a whole bunch of these areas as well with landmines, not like mining as an extraction. And so now it's at a fucking stalemate. It's at a stalemate. Russia has annexed these territories. They've, like, done these sham trials, or these sham in some of these places they've done these, like, sham democratic processes to be like, do we own these territories? Yes, whatever. After purging those territories of the, Ukrainian people. So yeah, referendums. Sorry, fake elections and fake referendums, and like different than even Crimea. Okay, so it's cooked. It's totally cooked. So if you don't make up for the lack of manpower on the Ukrainian side, if you don't make up for a lack of manpower on the Ukrainian side, you just can't do anything about it. And that requires a tremendous amount of hardship with no real guarantees of permanent security for Ukraine. And I don't even know if a lot of Ukrainians have appetite for this continued battle. And I'm not just talking about the NGO people that you hear from that don't have to fucking serve in the military, and their job is to literally tell you over and over again, no, Ukrainians have tremendous appetite to continue the fucking war, and we just want to do it. When obviously the battle, the front lines reflect a very different reality, because, like, you get to hear from some of the people that are complaining, and you get to see some of the images out of Ukraine, in Western Ukraine, where people are, like, evading the draft to the best of their ability because they don't want to fucking go into the front lines. They don't want to get killed. So don't listen. Like, yeah, if you listen to the Atlantic Council back people, like, yeah, of course they're like, no, they want to keep fighting. They have so much appetite for fighting. And anyone that tells you, like, Ukraine is experiencing, like, desertions or corruption in the front lines is lying to you. They're like a fucking paid Russian operative or whatever. Yeah, there's their job. They don't have to serve. They have exemption. So they get to fucking make this argument to the West, presenting a false reality to Westerners and deluding them into thinking that there is still, without making severe changes, there's still a way out of this through fighting.
Deadline for when the party?
I have my own deadline. I have my own deadline, and we want it to be fast. And the Prime Minister is helping us. He wants it to be fast too. And I think everybody in this, at this time in NATO, they want to see this thing happen. So we have a deadline, and after that, we're going to have a very much different attitude. But I think that has a very good chance of getting done.
Ukrainian here, people were looking to Trump to fast track this stuff. Guess they were in for a surprise. I'm a 25 male ready to be drafted, by the way. Are you in Ukraine?
Important ally to the U.S. What can Norway do?
Just keep doing what they're doing. We have a very good relationship with Norway. Great leader, great people. I know many of the people in Norway, and it's truly it's an incredible country. So all they have to do is keep doing what they're doing, I think, is probably the best answer I can give. Yes.
The former Secretary General of NATO is here, Mr. Stoltenberg. How important is the NATO defense alliance, Mr. President? Is it sacrosanct from your perspective?
Thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good one.
Very important for Europe, and I think without us, it wouldn't be as nearly as powerful. And as the former Secretary General, who did a great job, can tell you, I played when I was there a very big role in making sure that NATO is funded by the 28, at that time they had 28 countries, including us, because many of the countries weren't paid, and they ended up being paid, you would say, and the Secretary General was very nice about it.
Come here.
As far as I was concerned. Other presidents went in, they made a speech, and they left. And that kept going on, and in the meantime, they had no money. And the United States was paying far more than its fair share. You could say that they were paying, I actually said sometimes it looked like 100%. And it was unfair. And the two of us worked very well together, and we took care of the situation.
There are going to be looking into that and see which of the countries are actually in the trade surplus?
Yeah, well...
Literally saw a guy today caught. Damn, brother, you got to get the fuck out of there. I don't mean to tell you, but I don't mean to tell you something you already know, but goddamn, dude. There are a lot of people that are, people that have money, in Ukraine are getting out illegally to the in order not to. Why didn't you help them? What are you, fucking crazy? And then have himself get drafted? What are you, insane? Yes, by caught he means forced conscription. Yes. To illustrate the situation, the way the recruitment is trying to make up for lack of manpower is what locals are calling what? Bussification, where they literally snatch able-bodied men from the streets and civilians seeking to avoid them. This is what the chatter was talking about. Yeah, it's scary shit in Ukraine right now, in Western Ukraine as well. I don't know about bussification. I don't know if that's what it's called, but yeah, there is as things get more desperate, the government will take more aggressive action. Imagine not wanting to defend the country you live in from an attacker. Yeah, I can imagine that, actually. I don't know why chatters in here are like, nah, not me, dude. I'll be different. Like, what are you talking about? You didn't make this happen. I think I think that's perfectly just. Justice is perfectly just if you want to actually go and fight, You have every right to do so. You also have every right to fucking evade the draft. What are you talking about? Do you have this kind of attitude for all of the Ukrainian refugees that live in the United States of America, that live in Canada right now? What do you think they're doing here? There are other ways to help. What are you doing, chatter? Like, what a ridiculous statement. Yeah, it's real easy. It's real easy to say this from wherever the fuck you're at, to be like, hey, dude living in Lviv, okay? 25-year-old, graphics designer living in fucking Lviv. Hey, go die, okay? Yes, fight for your country. Don't listen to Hassan and roll over for Russia. I mean, the alternative is Russian execution because you're fucking home. Yes, whenever someone attacks your home, just leave. Bad take. No, I'm saying that if you want to fight, there's honor in that, certainly. But it also makes total fucking sense if you don't want to. And no, it's not. You can't compare this to Vietnam unless you're talking about the North Vietnamese army. Okay, because the Ukrainians are the ones who are fighting against an invading force. I'm not going to sit here. I am not going to sit here from my fucking ivory tower in the United States of America and tell people, yeah, just go die, Lamau. I don't have this attitude at all. I don't have this attitude towards Palestinians who don't want to engage in armed resistance against the state of Israel. And I don't have this attitude towards Ukrainians either. The fuck? Some of you Americans living in the fucking lap of luxury have a totally warped perspective of what war looks like for the average person. That to me is ridiculous. Yeah, it's easy to just like sit in the United States of America and demand that Ukrainians die to protect their homeland. Why don't you go die for them then? You know, this ain't a fucking movie, dude. Or are you crazy?
With the United States, almost everybody has a surplus.
But not in
It's really an amazing.
Stop
it's an
being a
amazing
pussy
phenomenon.
hypocrite.
There's
Wait,
a
what?
surplus.
This is not hypocritical. I just described to you that this is absolutely something I believe across the board. Efendim, iki.
Of a couple of $1 billion, I think you have with it. I congratulate you. That's very good. We got to get a little bit of that for ourselves, maybe, but they do have a surplus. Norway has a surplus.
In the current tariff situation, analysts have pointed out that the U.S. actually need allies. Do you consider Norway as a possible ally in the situation?
I think Norway's always been an ally. They've been somebody we've been very close to, very friendly with. Maybe more so now with me than other people, but I think Norway's always been a great ally, yeah. Norway's been a friend.
That's a very strange question, actually, because the U.S. is our lead ally, and we build on a relationship which we will talk about now, Mr. President, but it's of high relevance, and I'm very happy that we have Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense. Right. So this is a very strong tie.
But it was a question about ally in the tariff situation specifically.
Tariff situation.
I survived the longest siege of the city in modern time, and people were fleeing, and nobody had attitude against them. Yeah, what the fuck? Even after 3 years of service, my brother-in-law can't get a visa to come to Canada where his wife and children are. So even after serving, you can get trapped in the country. Yeah, they are recycling people who have already gone out of combat. Again, this is desperation. Okay, this is out of desperation. The Sarajevo siege, goddamn. The Ukrainian word translates to busification, or the process of snatching people and throwing them on the buses to the front.
Yes.
Oh. Well, that's we're talking about a little bit different subject then. We're talking about a different type of ally. No, in this case, he would be very much inclined to be an ally of Norway because he wants to make the best business deal possible. And Norway and the Norwegians are great business people. They're great traders. They're great, very smart nation, very well-managed nation.
Just tell chatters that you would tell Palestinians to get out if they had a way out and not just full-on encourage them to go to the front lines. Yeah, that is what I have said. I've actively worked with Palestinians that are still trapped inside of Gaza to try to get them out as well. So, no, this is something that I absolutely believe across the board, unconditionally.
It's been for a long time, and in particular now with this leadership. But we'll be talking about trade and other things, and I think we're going to come to a conclusion very quickly.
Well, I salute President Trump for having been taking very important initiatives to get this conflict towards an end, which both parties deserve. We need to have a ceasefire, save lives, and move towards something which is more secure for Europe, for the people concerned. And on that we work together. And I look forward to go into some details because we are at a critical moment. On that price, that is a committee taking care of that, which is completely working on its own terms, and I cannot comment on that.
Leftists don't fight, only talk.
I like that question. Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is. We may reveal it later, but they had meetings this morning, and we've been meeting with China. And so I think you have, Jeff, as usual. I think you have your reporting wrong. Thank you very much. We'll see you. We'll see you in.
Yeah, so the Trump administration is now claiming that China is actually talking to them. China is saying that they're not. Down. And that it is not at a stalemate at all, and that Xi is already making concessions or whatever. It's, maybe they're talking to a different kind of Chinese. Yeah, they're talking to Singaporeans thinking that they're Chinese. Dude, this guy keeps asking, do you know when you're going to debate Ethan? I don't, man. It's not up to me, okay? It's up to him. I don't know why there's like hella people in the chat that just keep asking me this. I don't know. I don't know why you guys think that I have any say in this process. I've asked to talk to Ethan since February 3rd, okay? Iran. Great news for the unemployed community. I know. It's just like he tries to say you're the one who's been scared to talk to him. I know he's the one who claims a bunch of insane shit. And it doesn't really matter because seemingly his fucking audience eats that shit up. They believe it. Like, it's so weird. And it's extra weird because they do come in here. So they must have encountered at a certain point me saying, oh, yeah, I would love to debate him on any topic he wants to talk about, but especially as it pertains to Israel-Palestine. And for some reason, that just goes, people just like don't hear it. I don't know why. Maybe they just like watch on mute and type away. Why can't you do anything about it? What would you talk to him about? What do you mean? What do you want me to do? Fucking stalk him physically with a camera and just like show up show up to the office. Yeah, I released a video titled "Debate Me, Ethan Klein" on February 5th. February 5th. Post-truth plus hyper-normalization means words don't matter anymore. Nothing goes. Real George Orwell, Animal Crossing. Yep, George Orwell, 1989. George Orwell. I'm a fan of you both equally still. I think I'm alone. Crazier things have happened, chatter. One day scientists will study your brain to understand how someone can be so firmly committed to being a centrist on this. Like, all good, you know? This was some fun little, I guess like some kind of drama almost. But why is a Twitch influencer the most visible voice representing the left in the West? Every left-wing org needs to rethink their comm strategy. David Grossman says, Hassan understands far more than any leftist org I can think of that video games and Twitch provide a social experience that young people are highly invested in. Post the Pew Research on it, says video games is a part of daily teen life. 85% of U.S. teens report playing video games, and 41% say they play them at least once a day. 4 in 10 identify as a gamer. To drill down further, socialization is the second highest response as to why teens play video games. If you think of it as a solitary experience, you're probably old like me. And before people say, oh, gaming when, gaming where, Lamau, what you fail to consider that this is a gaming platform. This is a gaming platform that is a social experience for a lot of teens. Me being here, even if I don't play fucking video games, is still serving that purpose, serving that role. Alex Press responded, said, I think some serious people find it easy to dismiss what Hassan and other popular communicators do, but I often wonder how we envision reaching masses of people. Sometimes it does seem that people on the left don't even believe that's possible, but it is. Yeah. Weapons grade cope. Yeah, sure. That's what a non-gamer would say. Gaming adjacent still has weight. Also, you're a fucking adult with an adult life, so gaming nonstop for a living isn't necessarily the most viable routine. Yeah. Hassan is a piece of shit like literally everyone who is ever involved with TYT. It's bad that he's reaching people. I can't stop people's madness online. You know what I mean? I can't do it. People are just going to believe the wrong shit, you know? Linking clips of you to your own friend. Found out today my coworker who got hired at the same time as me is a Hasanabi hit. She figured me out when I called the previous pope a Nazi youth. We are working for an immigration law firm defending undocumented people. Congratulations. I was talking to some leftist that basically said he hated liberals and that people that followed AOC and Bernie and that there was no hope for America unless we formed a vanguard. Do these people just think we can just manifest leftists out of thin air? I don't understand the logic or lack thereof. Yes, they do. They unironically fantasize about being the most morally pure movement that will magically exist out of thin air. No need to organize, no need to radicalize, no need to do agitated propaganda. We will just simply sit around and manifest it, okay? It's stupid. It's fine. Whatever. It'll happen one day, okay? Especially in a country like the United States of America, where there is no class consciousness whatsoever for the working class and only class consciousness for the billionaires, millionaires, and the capital owning class. And that a lot of the American vanguard is comprised of the lumpenproles, you know? It's just not gonna, there is no opportunity for developing a vanguard when you don't even have a fucking trade unionist movement, a robust trade unionist movement with steady labor education. It's just not gonna happen. Let's continue. Trump blasts Zelensky as tensions escalate.
Of the war in Ukraine. Overnight, Russia pounding Kyiv with missiles and drone strikes. This as President Trump attacked Ukraine's President Zelensky after he pushed back on a U.S. proposal to end the war with Russia that calls for Ukraine to give up territory. Chief Global Affairs anchor Martha Rad is tracking the latest on that. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, George.
Do you not know how the Bolshevik Party was built in way tougher conditions? Okay, did you form the Bolshevik movement? Do you feel like the average American's material conditions resemble a fucking a base of Tsarist Russia peasantry? No, Americans still at this point are far too fucking comfortable to ever recognize the glaringly obvious wealth disparity. And those who do recognize the wealth inequality are very quickly swept away by reactionary politics. Trump's nationalist populism is very effective at moving people and capturing their resentment and then firmly getting them to become committed to this cult-like fascist movement. Yes, I think the proletariat and the peasantry in the 1900s had more class consciousness than the average American does today. Abso-fucking-lutely. 100%. Dramatically different material conditions and a dramatically different form of governance that they were resisting against. They're not living in the fucking imperial core as labor aristocrats that have benefited tremendously from the unequal exchange from the global south and endless, limitless imperialism. Obviously, the feeling of like poverty and wealth are terms that poverty and wealth are relative. Okay? Relative to the rest of the world, the average American working poor is living in fairly good conditions in comparison to the working poor in a country in the global south. Having said that, it doesn't matter because you adjust your understanding of your own material conditions to whoever is around you. Who is paying you? What's so cult-like about it? Who's paying you? You are. Ironically enough, you, the chatters. I don't even run ads. The only way I generate revenue is when you subscribe. When you voluntarily subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster or by gifting subs in the chat. A subscription allows you to avoid ads if I ever choose to run them. I have not since my contract ended. Or send me links and use the emotes all around the website. You are not a true American. What difference does it make? I mean, sucks to suck, chatter. I was born here. But also, what difference would it make if I was a true American or not? What does that even mean? What does it mean to be a true American? App 11235. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Adrian is online. Thank you for 10 gifted. Roro IEV. Thank you for the 5 gifted. Wave Surrenders. Thank you for the 5 gifted. Why do I continue to live here? Makes no sense. Because as it stands, America still holds a lot of promise. America is the wealthiest nation on the planet, the wealthiest nation throughout time. And therefore, America has a lot of opportunity to change, or at least get out of the way of other countries that want to exhibit and follow through on their revolutionary potential. I also care about the material conditions of every American and want to improve them. And I'm a very stubborn guy. And this is precisely the reason why I stay here instead of just living a cushy life and doing exactly what I'm doing right now, but from, I don't know, another country. You want the pride flag to be in classrooms, not while Democrats had the throne? What? Dude, your resentments are so marginal. Like the things that you're upset about are so silly. You know, you have a capitalist system that is just fucking melting you, crushing you every day of the week. And you're over here talking about, oh, pride flag in the classrooms. It's just a distraction. And you were stupid enough to beat that bait, hook, line, and sinker. You agree with pride flags being in the classrooms? Yeah, I don't give a shit. Yeah, why the fuck would I care? Yeah, I do. That's our children. Yeah, guess what, dude? Some of those children are fucking gay, okay? So, and some of them are trans. So it's okay to have broad recognition of that reality because it's a fucking reality. It's not something you can just like close your ears to and close your eyes to and go, la, 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 la. That's not the case, okay? A pride flag simply just means everyone is welcome here. If that triggers you to no end, you're a dumbass, okay? It is simply a distraction, and many of you are stupid enough to eat that distraction and make it your whole fucking life, okay? Wow, you say, to a basic fact. A basic recognition of facts is so shocking to this guy. You are the most cowardly pussy I've ever fucking encountered in my entire life. If you think that a pride flag in the classroom is bricking your brain to this degree, that's disgusting. No, you're disgusting. You're fucking disgusting. And also barely a functioning human being. If you see a pride flag and lose your fucking mind, you are barely a human, okay? I would never talk to a child about sex. That's not, you don't. Okay. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. When you have a teacher, okay, let's say your teacher, for your child, in a hypothetical scenario, someone fucked you and you have a child, okay? I don't know if it'll ever happen, but let's say you have one. You have a child, right? Your child is going to school. Your teacher, your child's teacher, is pregnant. Do you immediately assume, oh my God, that's gross? You can't have a pregnant teacher at school because that would imply that the teacher has had sex. No, gay people and trans people don't have to always be having sex, okay? They could just exist as normal people. But in your mind, you see a gay person and you think, oh, gay sex, gay sex. What does the pride flag stand for? I already explained it to you. The pride flag just stands for everyone is welcome here. That's it. And if that minor acknowledgement that like gay people exist and trans people exist is breaking your fucking brain, you're a stupid person. I don't know how else to describe it. You're just a dumb person, okay? Just as seeing your child's teacher have a photo of her husband, for example, on the desk doesn't immediately spell this person is having sex and talking to the children about sex. Having a gay teacher have their male partner as a photo on their desk doesn't immediately mean that your gay teacher is talking about having gay sex. Oh my God, butt sex. Is that what you think when you see two dudes holding hands? You go, oh, what kind of, who's the top, who's the bottom? What kind of sex are they having? And if that's your fucking attitude, you're a freak. You're a perverted little freak. Let people live, dude. Let people fucking live, okay? You're a horny little monster that should be that shouldn't be allowed in polite society, you know?
These verbal assaults on Zelensky come as Russia, which launched the invasion into Ukraine 3 years ago, overnight launched another massive attack.
I literally never promised I would play Oblivion. I don't know why you were saying this. It's straight up a part of BDS. I'm not going to fucking play Oblivion on stream.
Tonight, Russia pounding Ukraine with missiles and drone strikes, rocking the capital.
I never said it was wrong to be gay. I said teaching that to kids is wrong. A 5-year-old should not know about that. Who the fuck is teaching a Dude, shut up, okay? Please, stop. You're fantasizing about a thing that does not exist, okay? Gay people exist. A recognition of gay people existing is not about teaching 5-year-olds about gay sex, okay? Sex education should happen in schools. It's one of the best ways to avoid teenage pregnancies, as a matter of fact. So that's a good thing. But it should be age-adjusted and age-appropriate. Okay, you know who makes up those decisions? People who have studied what the most effective ways of doing sex education are. Teachers with PhDs, not dumb fucks like you who can barely dress themselves without an adult supervising them, okay? Yes, children should know about sex education. Children should get sex education. Unfortunately, in the United States of America, so that men are having sex? What? It is entirely dependent on what age group we're talking about. Shut the fuck up. I am not an expert on childhood development, and neither are you. You are not an expert on anything other than being a fucking dumbass, okay? Sex ed is good. It's good to teach children about sex education. It prevents molestation from happening. Yeah, I'm not denying it. Yeah. Why do you want children to not know if their immediate relatives are fucking molesting them? For example, is there a reason? Is there a particular reason why you don't want children to know? Is that what it is? Because that's one of the major reasons as to why people hate sex ed. Why do you not want children to recognize whether or not they're being molested by an immediate family member? Are you in the interest of molestation of children? Is that what it is? Is that why you don't want children to learn about sex ed? Why do you want children to be molested and not have any sort of fucking legal recourse for it? Is that what's going on here? We've moved past the point of the pride flag. The pride flag doesn't mean sex ed, dumb fuck. When I see stuff like this, just idiots chirping. When I see idiots chirping like this, I'm like, maybe modern medicine went too far, okay? Maybe modern medicine went too far. We saved too many people that would have normally died to like a fucking tiger attack. You know what I mean? Like, society went too far. As an elementary teacher, sex education, California does not talk about sex outside of how sex can potentially lead to reproduction. The actual act of sex isn't even explicit Lee said it all in elementary. Most of it is learning about puberty, how children come from reproductive process in 2 days, are literally on consent, and who to talk to in cases of rape and sexual assault. Yeah, and it changes. It varies from state to state as well. I can't believe we're still having this conversation in this day and age where people are like, I don't know if we should do sex ed for children. It's like, dude, shut up, okay? Shut up. You should be nowhere near a position of power that gets to dictate what children should and shouldn't learn. Oh my God. You unironically should be in the fucking classroom learning, okay? Shutting the fuck up and learning. You should be getting educated. This is a major issue that I have. Look, I'm not a fucking liberal at all, but goddamn does it piss me off when I hear the dumbest fucking hogs chirping about expertise. You have no expertise. There is a reason why these people have poured their entire fucking lives to basically figuring out the best possible methods of educating children. You're just a dumbass. You didn't even get an education. You just sat in a fucking classroom and everything just passed by you. I don't even know how you're functioning right now, and you're over here being like, children shouldn't learn about sex ed. Who says? I says. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. God damn. I hate the people that just fucking act like they know more and they are better equipped at handling these decisions than people who have spent their entire fucking lives. Like, this is their whole life, is to find the best possible ways of educating children. And then because American exceptionalism and American individualism and American entitlement is such a fucking brain rotting, idiotic thing, it has caused people to create this false sense of security around their positions. Like, and they can just be loud and proud about their anti-intellectualist ways. It fucking pisses me off so much. COVID really accelerated this process. There's hella people who just think that they know better than fucking doctors and epidemiologists and healthcare professionals. It's just like, it's so stupid. Sometimes when I see this, when I see just like a shit ton of this kind of anti-intellectualist sentiment, I go, all right, fuck it, you know, YOLO, let it happen. Let it happen. 800 cases of measles. Let's go. Fuck it, you know? I give up.
The attack is the deadliest in the city since last summer, leaving at least
this is
9
how Democrats
dead
act.
and more
Wow,
than
triggered.
70
All I said was a
injured.
pride flag shouldn't be in the classroom, and this guy raged. No, you didn't say that. You did not just say that. And no, I'm not raging about that anymore. I'm raging about how fucking insanely stupid you are and how oblivious you are to how stupid you actually are. It's so sad. It's such a sad state of affairs, bro. That is what it is. You're living in the greatest age to become an autodidact if you want to. The internet and technology has advanced in a way where you have everything. You have everything under your thumb, okay? You could learn about so much, and yet you choose not to. You choose to just look at Facebook memes and delude yourself into thinking that a world that it does not exist is actually happening around you. You delude yourself into thinking that the simple pride flag being in a fucking classroom means that, you know, 5-year-olds are learning about butt sex. That's not the case. You fantasize that because you're a fucking freak. That's it. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad that you have this endless bounty of information at your disposal, and yet you have become dumber than a medieval peasant. How is this possible? It pisses me off. That's what pisses me off. Not like, oh my God, pride flag triggered libtard. I don't care. God damn. Yeah, these are the people that Trump directly taps into, okay? Trump is doing a spinal tap on the likes of idiots like this.
President Trump is reigniting his war of words with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, demanding Zelensky accept a U.S. proposed peace deal that heavily favors Russia, prohibiting NATO membership for Ukraine, and forcing Ukraine to surrender territory Russia seized since its 2022 invasion and Crimea. Zelensky said, there's nothing to talk about. It is our territory, the territory of the Ukrainian people. Lashing out on social media, Trump warning Zelensky can have peace or he can fight for another 3 years before losing the whole country. The man with no cards to play should now finally get it done. Later, in the Oval Office, somewhat softening his tone.
As soon as they agree, the killing will stop. But, yeah, I think they went well.
president also saying he believed Russia was ready to sign, but that is not a surprise since Russia would benefit. This is the territory Russia would annex in the deal currently on the table.
I'm not even kidding. Ironically, Trump has no cards. Okay, that is part of the problem here. And that's the reason why Vladimir Putin can get away with bombing Kyiv in the midst of a ceasefire negotiation that America presented that basically hands pieces of Ukrainian territory on a silver platter to Vladimir Putin.
Ukrainian officials saying they are ready to negotiate, not surrender. But the White House is demanding this deal be final and is doubling down on threats to abandon negotiations.
We've issued a very explicit proposal to both the Russians and the Ukrainians, and it's time for them to either say yes or for the United States to walk away from this process.
Trump says he is still hopeful for a deal, but Zelensky says there is no way he will accept the one on the table right now, George.
And Martha, we have new details on security breaches by Defense Secretary Hegseth.
Well, Hegseth, of course, is under fire for using the Signal app for what sources say was detailed information about military attack plans for Yemen to his wife and others. And this morning, the Washington Post is reporting that he had the app installed on a computer in his Pentagon office. Hegseth spokesman denying he ever used Signal in the office on a government computer. Of course, they've denied that there is anything wrong with revealing highly sensitive information as well. George?
Yeah, it could have been a personal computer.
You fear the Candyman? No, I am not a 14-year-old girl that he will inevitably sexually assault violently. So no, I don't fear the Candyman. What I'm shocked by, however, is that people voluntarily will defend a pedophile neo-Nazi without any sense of shame whatsoever. One must ask the question, why are you defending a pedophile Nazi? How are you a whole-ass adult that goes, nah, that's my favorite content creator? Who's the Candyman? It's Sam Hyde.
In his office.
A pedophile Nazi.
Very much.
An update as well from Ukraine's Interior Ministry saying the number of people...
You're good to watch for news, but you're so unfunny, man. Yeah, well, the news is not so funny right now.
...who died in the attack on Kyiv has now risen to 12. They say rescuers have unblocked the bodies of 2 more people from under rubble in the Sivotoshin district of the Ukrainian capital. A total of 90 people were injured in that specific attack as a result of a Russian missile strike. Of course, there were other attacks overnight in other parts of Ukraine as well, injuring more people too. Here with me in the studio is our defence and security analyst, Professor Michael Clark, to talk about all of this. Michael, it's been going on for over 3 years, and it's a reminder, isn't it, hearing how the politicians are talking in the UK, from Europe, from the US, of how the situation in Ukraine is key to our defence, to our energy security.
This is the first time Kyiv was struck? No, of course not. No, Kyiv has been struck. Kyiv has been invaded, chatter. Like, Russia has struck Kyiv a lot.
Security to the cost of living.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, we're living in a period, as everyone says, of structural change. The world is changing around us on a week-by-week basis. And in so many ways, what's happening in Ukraine crystallizes all of those changes because it's the front line in a major competition now between the dictatorships and the liberal democracies. And we've all said that. I mean, that's what Putin has said. He makes it clear that Ukraine, he said, is just have said that this is a red line for us. We cannot allow Ukraine to be taken over in an act of naked aggression just because the Putin elite thinks that Ukraine ought to be a part of Russia again.
We're seeing the map on the screen there. Of course, that shaded area is held by Russia, including Crimea, and also you can see there the number of places that Russia attacked overnight. We've talked about Kyiv. How normal is this in the context of the ongoing war? Was this an exceptional attack by Russia overnight?
Yes, it was.
Is this time different for some major reason? Not trying to downplay the violence. Yeah, it's different because, one, the number of casualties pretty high for. I mean, it seems like the smallest day of violence for Israel Palestine, but for Ukraine, especially in Kyiv, 12 civilians. Pretty significant. That's number one. But the reason why it's incredibly significant is because the United States has finally put a final offer on the table for a permanent ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. And Vladimir Putin did this in the process of that ceasefire negotiation being presented to both parties. This is an act. This is basically a violent act that the Russian government took to say, we hold all the cards. Trump doesn't hold any of the cards, and neither does Zelensky. I don't even know what Vladimir Putin could demand more than what he is getting so far, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, because they're getting everything. They're getting everything. They're getting all the territories that they annexed so far. They're getting assurances that Ukraine never joins NATO. They're getting, I don't know. He wants full regions, even territory that isn't occupied. I mean, it's fucking nutty. I mean, he's not going to get disarmament. Or, I mean, I shouldn't say that, actually. Who knows? Trump might be like, we are disarming the Ukrainian National Guard. I'm not going to say there are incredibly unreasonable expectations, okay? I'm not going to say that because at this stage, given that the parties involved here are Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin with our proxy that is trying to defend itself, failing to be able to do so, who knows? Who knows? Who knows what Trump will cave on and try to present as like totally reasonable. I guess if we're gonna look at like incredibly unreasonable and insane things that the Trump administration could do, outside of this deal, I guess they could invade Ukraine themselves and start fighting the Ukrainian military themselves, you know, the American military, start giving weapons to Russia. Like, who knows? Who knows? That's not happening. Yeah, I'm joking. Obviously, that's the Western liberals and progressives have no solution. Gaza is a genocide, not a fucking conflict. Chatter thinks Russia want all of Ukraine. That's not happening. They might want this, though. Right here. You see this? Right here? Shutting off Ukrainian access to the waterways and also simultaneously creating a land bridge to Moldova. Maybe. I feel like they definitely want that, actually. As a matter of fact, I would say that.
Oh, it's bigger than most. I mean, some of the bigger attacks have been 100, 120, 130 missiles and drones. This was, according to the Ukrainians, they said there were 70 missiles, 145 drones. So this is...
The German Left Party has a peace plan where Chinese and European troops do peacekeeping missions together to force a truce because Putin will never dare to shoot on Chinese soldiers, then have blue berets take over like in Cyprus, and China seems kind of on board, but of course the ruling conservatives are against it. That does seem like a pretty solid solution to all of this. There is no reasonable, amenable solution to this without incorporating China in some capacity, I think, and utilizing the pre-existing relationship that Russia has with China to force Russia to concede. I've been saying that. I've been saying Zelensky should be calling up Xi Jinping and being like, my bad, Mr. President, you have been good to us. I know I said China bad, but I was wrong, Mr. President. That's what he should be saying, but what's in it for China? What's in it for China is what's always in it for China. Stability. That's it. China trashes the report it would put peacekeeping troops in Ukraine. Beijing maintains close ties with Moscow. Yeah, I mean, of course they're going to fucking say that. China is taking advantage of Russia on oil and more now. They have no reason. No, I think they still want stability. Listen, man, they just want to sell, okay? They just want to keep making their trinkets and sell to the globe and keep developing secondary markets. That's it. That's why I said that they will inevitably also come to the table and talk to Donald Trump as well. Maybe I'm wrong, but China encouraging public perception. Beijing has the upper hand on tariffs as real Donald Trump retreats. State TV refers to POTUS by one of his nicknames here, 10,000 Tariff Grandpa. Other names online, King Know-It-All and Trump the Nation Builder for China. Oh, I love that. Chinese netizens cooking. How to end the war. Have Trump sent J.D. Vance to shake Vladimir Putin's hand. War will be over in 24 hours or less. Yeah, I don't think Vladdy Poo is coming within earshot, within handshake distance of the servant of Satan, J.D. Vance, after he assassinated the Pope, okay? No shot. There's not a single Ukrainian politician who would vote to legalize the occupation of Ukrainian territory, said Konstantin Yeliseyev, former presidential deputy chief of staff. For members of parliament, it would be worse than political suicide. This is why I said Zelensky is kind of over. He says yes to this, it's over for him. He says no to this, there's so much instability, and it's over for him in the long run.
bigger than most. It's also more widespread than most. And it was an attack on several civilian areas. Now,
You're saying because they arrested all the opposition, but that's also not true. Zelensky also has opposition from the liberal Atlantic Council-backed groups. Zelensky has opposition from hyper-nationalist groups. So there is still opposition. It's just in the more to the right category. There is still very much viable political opposition against Zelensky. You also have the oligarchs, too. They still have a lot of power in Ukraine, and they have their own personal views on the matter. Okay, calm down. It's very interesting how so-called liberal democracies finally realize it's been a fight against authoritarianism. Meanwhile, the level of corruption and weakness of institutions caused by neoliberalism has allowed unimaginable levels of Russian influence across Europe. And I'm not talking obvious like AfD. I'm talking mainstream parties, organizations, and institutions. Europe is too weak and leaderless to fend off Russia. I don't think it's a real fight against authoritarianism because if you look at American or Western involvement in other countries at the behest of maintaining a neoliberal attitude, America and Western-backed forces have oftentimes planted authoritarian fascist leadership in positions of prominence, positions of power, while simultaneously facilitating coups d'etats on democratically elected leaders for the crime of being to the left of, the American Democratic Party at the time. So that is just marketing. When people say, oh, we're fighting against authoritarianism, that's just fucking marketing. Especially when you consider the fact that America is literally doing Russia shit, right? The FBI just raided the homes of pro-Palestinian student organizers that were targeted under the Biden administration by a blue state attorney general, Dana Nessel, with a blue governor, mind you. And that, to me, is authoritarianism, right? That is straightforward authoritarianism. And the Trump administration is facilitating this now. It's not about liberal democracy or maintaining liberal democracy versus like fighting against, autocracy or whatever. It's just that's just seasoning. That's just marketing.
The Kremlin has said in the last couple of hours, they said, we conducted a massive attack last night on the military-industrial complex of Ukraine. Well, we'd like to see a bit more evidence of what this military-industrial complex was. But at the moment, what we're aware of is these pictures from just west of the center of Kyiv. The Ukrainians have said that some of the missiles that we used were the North Korean missiles, the KN-23, which is a pretty heavy missile. It's a bit like the Iskander, the Russian Iskander missile. It's a low trajectory missile, but because it's short range, it can carry quite a big warhead.
Banning the communists is banning opposition, is it not? Or you're talking about Zelensky? Yes. But there's also more opposition, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I'm saying that there is more opposition than just that right now internally in Ukrainian politics. And you can't get away with banning like the Atlantic Council liberals or banning the ultra-nationalists that are growing in prominence because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, ironically enough, of course.
So these things can carry a 500-kilo warhead, which is a ton, effectively a 1,000-pound warhead. And if it hits a building, it will bring it down. And they have a pretty high accuracy level. I mean, they're 100 meters either way. Within 100 meters, they ought to be getting their target. So again, unless somebody could find a very important military installation next to this residential building, then it just doesn't stand up that this was an attack on the military-industrial complex.
Let's finish off by talking about the US influence and impact on the situation, because yesterday, in terms of Donald Trump's criticism of Volodymyr Zelensky, it was almost business as usual. We've come to expect that. Today, a change. He's calling on Vladimir Putin to stop. Does the US have waning influence over the situation here?
It's not clear, I mean, what influence the United States really does have over Putin now. I think, Putin knows that he's got Donald Trump on a hook, that the US is desperate for a deal, Trump is desperate for a deal, and I think Putin feels that he can extract more carrots, concessions out of America before he does a deal, or he can make sure that Trump blames Zelensky if a deal isn't done. But I mean, Trump must have been very angry to hear about this attack, because it's exactly what he didn't want. And it almost shows that Putin is prepared to defy him. If we assume that the attack was also politically proved, that it wasn't just another attack, the size of it And the widespread nature of the targets must indicate that it was approved at the Kremlin level. I would imagine it was. So Putin seems to be pushing his luck on this. But I think he must gather the idea that Trump may complain about this, but ultimately Trump needs a deal more than Putin does. And Putin actually doesn't want to stop fighting because...
This is right. This is correct. This is why I said Putin's actions blowing up Kyiv. Putin's actions blowing up Kyiv last night was directly saying that. And I think Trump is unironically too stupid to recognize that all of the niceties that Putin has showed Donald Trump and the respect, quote unquote, that he's shown Donald Trump is simply to fucking manipulate him. But once again, there's not really much you can do in this situation because, as I've said time and time again, the future of Ukraine will be dictated on the battlefield. That's what it comes down to. And the situation on the front lines looks not so great for Ukraine. Yes, Russia has experienced tremendous attrition as well in this process, but they simply have more people to throw at the problem. So ultimately, Donald Trump is in this weird predicament where he thinks like the Democrats fucked this up and created this proxy war. And this proxy war this proxy war is something he has to deal with now, even though it's lost. That's why he's constantly fucking screaming about Ukraine and Zelensky being shit and you know, that you have no cards. For fuck's sake, stop goddamn saying that. Show me where it looks not so good. Look at the IOW reports and Ukrainian sources, for fuck's sake. I mean, go ahead, show me. You can send me. That's a goddamn Russian talking point. Go read the actual Ukrainian and the Institute of War examinations. You can send me information if you want me to look at it. You're a sub. You can send it. Yeah. This has been ongoing over and over again. Like, if the situation was great in terms of manpower, okay, chatter, while you're looking for the information to send me, I'm going to ask you a very easy to answer question from your position. If the situation was looking great in terms of manpower for Ukraine, I'm not even going to talk about the desertions. I'm not going to talk about corruption in the front lines or reports that come out of the front lines in terms of corruption, or even the forcible conscriptions that are taking place right now where Ukrainian men that are down to the age of 25 are just like holding in place, trying to avoid the authorities to the best of their ability so that they don't get shipped off to the fucking front lines. I'm simply going to ask you this question. If the situation was beneficial for Ukraine right now and that they had enough manpower, why is the United States of America, including the Trump administration by way of Mike Waltz initially, and certainly the Biden administration on his way out, saying to Ukraine that they have to lower the age of conscription to 18? If they had enough manpower, why is the American position on the matter, the demand being made to lower the age of conscription in Ukraine to 18? Very easy to answer, because they lowered it recently from 27 to 25. Is that also a Russian talking point? Because that is a directive coming from the United States of America. If Ukraine had enough manpower right now as it stands to be able to mount a defense, do you think that the American military industrial complex would not love the opportunity to keep offloading the remaining, refurbished weapons that they ship off to Ukraine? So they can turn around and say, oh, we got to re-up and rearm, so we need more money, please. You think like the military industrial complex doesn't love a consistent flow of weapons that they send somewhere? Just a heads up, Institute for the Study of War is a neoconservative far-right war hawk think tank that said Obama and Trump didn't go far enough with military action in Syria. Take it with a grain of salt, just saying. I know, it doesn't matter that a neocon think tank is saying that, there's more to do here. What matters is the question that I'm asking is a very simple one. And if the Ukrainian position is that this is winnable, then why, if this is winnable in the current, as it stands currently, then why is the United States of America urging Ukraine, or has urged Ukraine, to lower the age of conscription to 18? I've jokingly said that the only other way out of this is to get the one wild card in NATO to take action in terms of like sending manpower, and that's Turkey. I don't think it's going to happen. Turkey is far too close in proximity to Russia, but I guess that's the only option here, is the Turks coming in with the Mehmet Marşı to save the day. second largest standing army in all of NATO. They recently made a big promotion for contracts for youth between 18 and 24. It offers huge benefits and up to 1 million UAH for signing. These reports was that they got around 500 contracts for a few months. Russia conscripts thousands per month. Turkey is in NATO and would trigger Article 5, which is World War III. Yeah, except Turkey has engaged in battle with other NATO nations. So that's why I said they are the wild card. You are so nationalistic towards Turkey? No. The only reason why I brought up Turkey is because it is the only NATO nation that has engaged in battle with other NATO nations. Throughout the history of NATO, Turkey is the only country that has actually done that and still continues to have proxy wars with other NATO nations, like France, for example, in Libya. So saying that I'm like, this is my soft spot or something is so silly, especially considering I can't even fucking go to Turkey. Why does Turkey have nukes? Yes, American nukes in Incirlik. All right, we're moving on to Trump backing down. There was a whole speech about the manpower issue, and NATO Article 5 only applies if they're invaded through belligerents. Oh, God. Article 5 is a defensive article. If one nation, NATO nations, attack somebody, it will not trigger NATO response. I can't believe we're at this stage. Okay, dude, so you think that England is going to send troops and then Russia is not going to respond to that? Like, the expectation is that so NATO nations are going to send troops into Ukraine and then Russia is not going to respond to that at all. Poland. I don't think that they have the capacity to respond militarily to every other fucking European country if they were to send troops into Ukraine, for the record. But the issue here is, at that point, you're talking about nuclear brinksmanship. You're talking about nuclear war. Like, do you think that other governments, like European governments, have not weighed the possible Russian response to these actions? You think that they just never thought about this? You think, like, especially funny to think that a country like Poland that is aching, begging to trigger Article 5 on a daily fucking basis, like, those guys haven't weighed out what it would look like if they were to send troops into Ukraine and then invoke a Russian response against Poland. That's all I'm saying. If Poland's not fucking doing it, if Poland is not sending troops, then I don't know how you can make this assessment and say, nah, it's not that big of a deal.
With what appears to be good news, possibly a reversal from President Trump on the trade war with China could help the economy, could help the markets. Yesterday, the president appeared to be softening his tone on what had been some very steep China tariffs. But at the very same time, he hinted that more tariffs could be put in place unless countries make deals with the U.S. in the weeks ahead. Ed O'Keefe is at the White House. He's been following this daily seesaw, the whiplash, the back and forth. Ed, good morning to you. On that subject, we've got China responding this morning. What are they saying now?
I'm still shaking my head about what you said about armed here, Tony, but good morning.
How is it going to respond is the question. We already have multiple Russian officials saying they are not going to use nukes, but target those foreign army. You are hilarious if you think that the Russians are going to use a nuke. My point is not to say Russians are definitely going to use a nuke. I'm not saying that at all, even though, according to some reports, they entertained that notion only to stop because China told them not to a while back. Having said that, however, that is the calculation that other countries are making. That is the reason why they haven't sent troops. That's the question I have for you. Why does the Polish administration not want to entertain the notion of Russian retaliation, but you do? Do you not understand this? Like, you think the Polish admin is not weighing these options? Of course they are. I'm using Poland as an example because they're just they have the most appetite for fighting Russia, or at least like they posture as though they do.
Overnight, Beijing said that if the U.S. doesn't if the U.S. really wants to resolve this issue, it should cancel tariffs on China. And that comes as President Trump signals he's easing off his tough tariff policies in recent days, saying,
excellent move, sir. Another five-head move by Donald Trump. Incredible stuff. He's doing the damn thing, dude. He's doing it big time. He's doing it so good. He's doing it so sweet. Art of the deal.
His administration's talked with 90 countries about trade deals.
What went down is coming back up.
Stocks on the rebound around the world as President Trump signals high tariffs on China are set to end soon.
I get along very well with President Xi, and I hope we can make a deal.
But it came with a warning to China and other countries that without a deal, the White House will set a price.
That will happen, I'd say, over the next couple of weeks. Wouldn't you say? I think so. Over the next 2-3 weeks, we'll be setting the number.
Trump's moves come after weeks of global economic instability. This week, the CEOs of top retailers Walmart and Target privately warned the president tariffs could disrupt global supply chains and result in empty shelves in the coming weeks. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent sought to calm nerves by telling a meeting hosted by J.P. Morgan Chase there will be de-escalation with China. On Wednesday, addressing leaders in international finance, he said the U.S. is merely trying to rebalance global trade.
America first does not mean America alone. To the contrary, it is a call for deeper collaboration and mutual respect among trade partners.
But while President Trump says there's been direct contact daily between the U.S. and China on trade,
what's funny to me is that Donald Trump had to be convinced by executives from Walmart that, like, this tariff war would inevitably lead to empty shelves that are not stocked. Like, you couldn't figure that out on your own? I'm a dumbass. I'm a stupid guy, okay? I'm not the smartest guy at all. And if I can see it, how can you, a person that is the president now twice of the United States of America, how could you not have foreseen this? It makes no sense, bro. It's so weird. Here, this is another side of the story. Scoop, senior aides across Trump admin holding high-level meetings over China, curbs on rare earths, critical to huge range of U.S. economic activity, deep concern about impact, no easy answers. There's another part of the story. Companies relying on reserves that won't last forever may help explain Trump blink. China has complete monopoly over the refinement and procurement of rare earths that are necessary for American defense and everything else. Do you understand how stupid this is? No, not raw earth, rare earth. Okay? They have damn near complete monopoly, just like they have damn near complete monopoly over the Labubu procurement. Okay? What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? Who do you think gets hurt more in this process? Who? Do you think it's China that gets hurt in this process? Sure. They experience a tumultuous period of economic inactivity. Certainly. Right? Cutie Cinderella does not get her Labubus for her Deco Den. Shouts out to Fear N. For those of you who don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, watch the Fear N podcast. But like the notion that this was going to be fine for America is so laughable. It's so spectacularly stupid. Oh my God. Oh my God. The rare earth banned for export to U.S. is used in aerospace for lightweight aluminum alloys, laser targeting systems, LEDs, and semiconductors, and that's only a part of it. Yeah, that's just No. That's the rare earth minerals that China said they will not export to the United States of America. Even if they hadn't done a blanket ban on those rare earth minerals, okay? Trump's own tariffs would have actually cooked this global trade procurement strategy. So Trump had already done it himself. And China's retaliation in the process was, okay, you don't get any of it then. You're not even going to get it at a higher price. You're just not going to get it at all. It's so funny because I have talked about all of this for the past couple of months at this point, and certainly since Donald Trump decided to molest the money, right? Liberation Day. And it's always shocking that people are still confused at this point. People are like, what? How could this have happened? Jeff Stein follows says, Beijing does not feel like it is going to back down and that the U.S. is in no position to dictate terms. A big part of it is rare earths, where they feel they have the capacity to do significant harm to American manufacturers. Meetings have involved White House National Security Council, National Economic Council, Council of Economic Advisors, Commerce Department, Energy Department, the Office of Trade Representative, among several other agencies. Finance, capital, and other ideas DPA kicked around, but the timeline for scaling up domestic capacity uncertain. Yeah, Felix Biederman really cooked when he said Trump is molesting the money. I just keep using it over and over again. Money molestation. And by the way, it bears repeating. And it sounds so silly to say it over and over again. But this is the tip of the iceberg. Okay? Like, chatters, I need you to understand something very important. Trade activity through shipping containers does not happen overnight. You do not just send ships worth of goods and cargo yesterday, and then you order them yesterday and it arrives at your doorstep tomorrow. Like, this is, a lot of people have a false understanding of how this happens because of Amazon Prime delivery. Okay, when you go to the Amazon website and you click on a Labubu and you order it, and then it ships to your doorstep overnight, that Labubu entered the country who knows when, probably months ago. The process of getting that Labubu into the fucking country took 55 to 60 to at minimum, okay, minimum 35 to 45 days, because they're coming in fucking ships. They're coming over water. It's not something that you can't just order something or have the importers order something and then like it materializes in your fucking doorstep. So when Trump put the fucking limiter on global trade, that put the entire process in a complete halt. So we have yet to experience the actual impact. Shelves will be empty. You just have to wait. You have to wait at least another month to start seeing the impact of what Donald Trump's Liberation Day looked like. We haven't even gotten there yet. Do you understand? I work in logistics and it's usually like 6 to 8 weeks by boat minimum. Yes, we have yet to see what it is going to look like. Even if they tomorrow decide, my bad, my mistake, I'm so sorry, I fucked up, I love China, I love Xi Jinping, let's restart global trade, please. And China says, you know what? I'll let bygones be bygones. I will let you get access to our markets again. I will manufacture for you again. If all of these things took place today and that China immediately kickstarted the process of manufacturing today, okay, we would still experience shortages in a month no matter what. You understand? We are still going to experience empty shelves. These guys that are warning Trump right now are warning him because they don't want the shelves to remain empty after the 2-month period. Because in that process, here's what else is going to happen. Okay, this is a robust industry. This is a massive part of the economy. So when ships are no longer bringing goods into our ports, you no longer have longshoremen working at said ports. You are going to have a period in the upcoming month, you're going to have a period of stagnation, no matter what. That is going to happen regardless. Okay? That is unavoidable. It is happening. It is going to fucking happen. You're going to have truckers experience a period where they most likely furlough because truckers are not going to be able to move products from said ports because there's no more products coming in from said ports into grocery stores. You are going to experience shortages at grocery stores. So many people are most likely going to be laid off. And that is only because Donald Trump decided to do Liberation Day. It hasn't happened yet. It will happen. I am telling you right now, We have yet to experience the results of Trump's Liberation Day. We have yet to win. Right now, the immediate impact is in the market. And even then, a lot of people are too stupid to look into the future to recognize what Donald Trump's halting of global trade is going to look like 2 months down the line. It is crazy. You do not know, or at least I hope you can understand what it's going to look like right now. I manage a lot of brands, Amazon presence, including a lot of logistics. Many are shipping to Canada to hold and be ready to move to the U.S. when tariffs are gone. Reduces risk for a small increased cost. Many Chinese-owned brands are also just straight lying on customs declarations as well. So U.S.-owned companies that import from China are at a massive disadvantage. Couldn't COVID have a model, be a model for this as well? Dude, this is worse. I think it will resemble COVID, like early period of COVID where everything halted. But I think the impact that it will have on the logistics side of things for shipping companies, for longshoremen, and for truckers is going to be even more severe than COVID. Check the current availability and price of GPUs on Newegg. We're basically back at peak COVID supply chain horse shit. I work for an IT broker, and it's not just the shipping from China that's ass blasting us right now. It's about country of origin. So used equipment that we move from Europe will still get hit. We'll still get his with the China tariff if the equipment was originally made in China. Trucking volumes are down 8.3% month over month. We're approaching COVID low levels in trucking. The market continues to stall. This is going to get so much worse. Again, we haven't even arrived at the dead zone. There is going to be a period, like I said, if tomorrow Trump said, reset, sorry about the tariffs, my bad, and China said, you're all good, I'll let bygones be bygones. If they started this process today, there would still be a fucking dead zone. There is going to be a dead zone of all economic activity because Donald Trump thought that he could just fucking shut off trade from 30%. The entire U.S. economy, 30%. And not only that, but also, he's also tacked on tariffs to fucking Canada and Mexico. Canada, Mexico, and China comprise 72% of all economic activity in this country. 72%! As that one chatter was saying, a lot of importers are basically rerouting fucking manufacturing into China, or not rerouting manufacturing, but like rerouting goods from China into Canada with the hopes that they can then, move them across the border. There's still a tariff there, and that still isn't enough. That's not going to make up for that trade dead zone that you are going to experience. Even then, there's a universal 10% tax that we are all going to be paying for. Oh my God, I'm nutting. Oh my God, stop. International opinion shift. For the first time ever, more people globally say China will have a positive impact on the world. Oh my God, the people are waking up. Oh my God. Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta hit it once. I gotta hit it once, baby. Yeah. Okay. 天上太阳当然红彤彤耶，西上是太阳是毛泽东耶，发令了我们飞鹰声耶。革命江山一夜一片红哎，一夜一自由，革命江天红。You just start begging Xi to annex Los Angeles. You ungrateful cretin. Use your Chinese for the collective good. You are a real Xi believer. Dear leader Xi Jinping, please save us. Xi Jinping, please save us. Sir, I am ready. I am your loyal servant, sir. Please. The Chinese party, the Communist Party of China, please save us. Please, sir, save us, please. Please. Liberate us, sir. I am your loyal servant, sir. Please. Fifth column activate. Yeah. Hey, man, I have you on speaker and my Chinese boss just physically cringed at your bad Chinese. No! I have perhaps never been as vindicated as I am at this very moment where everyone is waking up to the reality that, like, China is the global the party for global stability and America is the party for global instability. All because while Donald Trump is engaging in actions that are insane and belligerent, he's doing it in a way where it's like optically unfavorable too. I have never been more vindicated. I have never, ever been more vindicated than at this very moment. Oh my God. Being a leftist is right, but too early. Ladies and gentlemen, as I have said, being a leftist is being right, but too early. Everybody fucking yelled at me. Everybody that fucking yelled at me is now going to turn around and sing the goddamn praises of Xi Jinping. Okay? Oh, yeah. I mean, classic.
Let me tell you, I've been taken up to the third heaven. I've been jacked into the big plan. I've seen it. I've seen it. I can't even compute all of it. It's so fantastical. You've not seen nothing. You ain't heard nothing. You ain't smelled nothing like this. I don't have words to tell you. But I tell you, anybody tries to get in the way of the incredible plan the big guys got for us has got me pissed, and I'm just begging to stay on the team, man. Just put me in the game, coach. Whatever you say.
Put me in the game, coach.
I know I'm weak. I know I'm pathetic. Man, you're amazing. I'm so lucky you made me. What do I do, Bob? Like a hunting dog, man. Just take me out of the house. Just turn me on them. Just tell me what I got to do. Tell me what. Tell me how I serve you. Tell me what I can do for you right now.
The glorious chairman, dude. That's right. That's right. Tell me, Chairman, I will do what you ask of me. I am a weapon you will wield. I am a knife sharpened with the dialectics. All glory to the Communist Party of China. All glory to the People's Republic of China. I am your servant. Put me in, coach. Humiliation rituals are getting out of hand. Yeah, it's only humiliating if you don't recognize the fucking Chinese century of prosperity. Shaking my head, kaldır götün için. Seddine haddi olsun. Aman yapmayın etmeyin abi. Biliyorum. Pokemon. Even the Turks are making fun of me for Pokemon going to fucking China before me. I'm so jealous, dude. It's over. Anyway, speaking of our vassal state here, okay, Japan will not take part in any trade bloc that seeks to isolate China, given the importance of China as a trading partner. Japan intends to push back against any U.S. effort to bring it into an economic bloc aligned against China because of the importance of Tokyo's trade ties with Beijing, according to current and former Japanese government officials. Like many other countries, Japan is trying to get permanent relief from President Donald Trump's tariffs by addressing U.S. concerns in areas of bilateral trade, including automobiles and agriculture. The officials, who asked not to be identified, said that Japan is pushing to strike a deal before the current 90-day reprieve in tariffs expires, with one person saying the country hopes to finalize an agreement around the Group of Seven summit in June. At the same time, the official said that Japan doesn't want to get caught up in any U.S. effort to maximize trade pressure on China by curbing its own economic interaction with Beijing, which is Tokyo's biggest trading partner and an important source of goods and raw materials. I like to think in my headcanon that I opened up these conversations to the Japanese audience by engaging in bilateral negotiations with the Japanese Communist Party, which of course does not have any motion in the Japanese diet, but it doesn't matter. In my mind, it does. Oh, wow. It's actually over the U.S. in that case. What other states can they even force into an anti-China alliance at this point? The UK, Argentina, South Korea, maybe? That is true. That is true praxis. You're the Sean King of China-Japan negotiations? Oh my God, that's a deep cut, dude. That's crazy. Yeah, that's a deep cut. Remember when Sean King negotiated with Hamas, or claimed that he did? Yesterday, I asked President Trump in the Oval if there have been any direct talks with China on trade. He answered, yeah, of course, every day. Here is the China Commerce Ministry. Any content about China-U.S. economic and trade negotiations is groundless and has no factual basis. Here's Ryan Grimm reacting to the news about Japan.
The sheer stupidity of Trump's strategy going into this trade war is now finally coming into the sharpest focus, I think, that we've seen yet. It's been a complete catastrophe from start to finish, and we can now understand completely why.
You know, okay. I'm just going to say one thing here that I think is very interesting. It's irrelevant to the main point of contention. It's irrelevant to most of the things I'm talking about. But it is wild how much play apolitical drama slop tubers get in terms of like undermining my capabilities as a political commentator without any information whatsoever. So much so that there are a lot of people out there in the ether that simply think, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, even though I get vindicated every fucking day. So if you get in on the ground floor, and if you're in here, you are infinitely more knowledgeable about what the fuck is about to happen than the average person. And yet, time and time again, despite my consistent vindication over and over again, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of self-glaze here, okay? I'm sorry. But time and time again, I get consistently fucking vindicated with events that take place. And yet there are still a shit ton of people who unironically still go, nah, that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. That's why my favorite commentator, Asmongold, he knows what's going on. He knows what's he knows what's really good. It's crazy. Argles, thank you for the 50 gifted subs. God damn. Being a Hasanabi head has literally helped me be invaluable in my farmer regulatory policy career. Hell yeah. Didi Crow on Russia invading Ukraine. I agreed with you at the time, but we were wrong. Yeah, because I fucking listened to Zelensky too. But it doesn't matter. If the only thing you can fucking point to, and even then my analysis was sound, my prediction was wrong, you know, because I did not factor in Vladimir Putin's insanity into the equation, which is something I will admittedly never do. I will never say, yeah, that person is a madman and unstable, so they're going to react in a fucking insane fashion. And ultimately, even on the Russia will never invade Ukraine, they're bad, not mad. That assessment has been harmful. I mean, that assessment has shown to be correct time and time again. It's not like Russia's attrition has been beneficial for its current standing. You know, it's not. They're not doing so hot either. Literally work as an editor for the New York Times, and your work is very, very, very good and well sourced. Sometimes you break stuff and give context that helps me do my job immensely. Yup. That's why people don't understand why, like, oh, why do fucking journalists do positive coverage to Hassan? And maybe it's because they don't fucking get their notes from Keemstar orbiters. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's continue.
He went in with a plan to encircle China. So here's Treasury Secretary Bessent saying that the plan here is you're going to get Vietnam, you're going to get Japan, you're going to get other Southeast Asian countries. You're going to unify them into a bloc, and you're going to collectively then pressure China to change its trade policies. That might actually have been a decent strategy. It might actually have worked out for those countries and for American workers. But that, of course, is not what Trump did. Like, you guys have been around. You've been watching this entire thing. What did he do? He slapped tariffs on the entire world to start, including Japan, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, you name it. So he picked a fight with the people that he claimed he was going to have in his coalition. And so now, today, Japan is saying, we are not doing any type of trade deal with the United States that upsets our trade situation with China. Because the United States is an adversary of Japan at this very moment, not an ally anymore. So why would Japan do us any favors and hurt itself in its relationship with China, who has been the relatively stable country in this? So the idea...
It's not just that China is the relatively stable country in this process because of American instability, but it's also a very powerful country due to its significance in manufacturing. Like, how the fuck would countries just go, all right, we're just going to rip apart our trade agreements that we've done with China for what? For the crime of fucking developing themselves in the process? That was the point, wasn't it? You asked the World Trade Organization, you asked the World Bank, they constantly talk about how free trade is so beneficial for the global South. Free trade is so beneficial in uplifting the material conditions of the working class around the world. And then one country fucking does it, and they go, whoa, 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 hold up now. Not like that. We didn't mean you were actually going to fucking engage in even development, rapid urbanization, and actually become a competitive fucking global superpower. We didn't mean it like that. We thought you were just going to still be like this despotic fucking place where there is a Gini coefficient so fucking vast that it makes people's heads spin. We thought all of the fucking wealth was going to be in the hands of Western-aligned leadership within the party structure that are quintrillionaires at this point, and then the rest of the working class of China was going to be the fucking peasantry. I'm so confused. How did this happen? They looked at China and they were like, whoa, what are you doing? The secondary aspect of this is that America still maintains global stability through its empire, through its tentacles, its military bases, 1,000 of them all around the fucking world. That part still hasn't that still hasn't fallen. Okay, there's that too. There's that aspect of this equation as well. That's part of the reason why I think China wants to maintain America as the reserve currency, at least right now, at least for now. May 2025 volumes are now expected to drop 20.5% year over year to 1.6 million TEUs, while June could see an even steeper 26.6% decline to 1.57 million TEUs. No one is thinking about back to school, but this is the season when they are being shipped from overseas. Yeah, industry leaders are fucking warning of supply chain crisis as Trump tariffs hit U.S.-China trade. You know things are fucking dire when we're looking at industry papers, okay? This is a dire warning. When we start looking at trade publications, it's over. All because we didn't like how much we saw COVID and we did not like how much China was manufacturing. And we're like, oh, we got to fucking change this. Except did we actually build a robust base of manufacturing in the past 4 years when Biden was the president? No, we didn't do that at all. We didn't do none of that shit. Is Trump implementing a command economy and building a robust infrastructure and training people right now to deal with high precision manufacturing? No, we're not doing none of that shit. Did we set up contracts for at least rare mineral extraction with countries that currently have almost monopoly deals with China? Did we set up refinement facilities to be able to refine these minerals? No, we didn't do that either. So what the fuck are we doing? Throwing a goddamn tantrum and saying, hey, listen, we have the global reserve currency and we have a fucking import economy. And if you, we are the consumption engine of the planet, a major market that everyone wants to be a part of due to the way that we have designed global trade over the course of the past multiple decades. So we'll fucking kill ourselves. We'll kill ourselves. We'll kill ourselves unless you do what we want. And then people go, what do you want? And they go, I don't know, just build a factory here or something. Okay, that's going to take a fucking decade, dumbass. What are you doing? You should have set up the factories first and then done this. You can't do trade protectionism if you have no trade to protect. So all we're doing in this process is like telling Europe, hey man, if you want to get out of this bind, if you want to keep selling products to the United States of America, well, guess what you have to do? You have to literally purchase our chicken, okay? You have to purchase salmonella chicken. That's it. No other way out of this. You have to purchase hormone beef. No fucking other way out of this. Do you understand? And more of our weapons. And also our F-150s. Will we make smaller vehicles, mid-sized sedans that can, work in your market? Fuck no. Buy the Ford F-150 right now. I don't care what you do with it. You could dump it in the ocean for all I care, but you have to buy it. Going to Cambodia and being like, I'm sorry, you have to buy a fleet of F-35 jets is hilarious. They'd be like, sorry, you need Boeing weapons. That's the only thing we manufacture. You have to buy them. Otherwise, we can't fix this trade deficit. Great stuff. Thousands and then millions of American small businesses, including many iconic brands, will go bankrupt this year if the tariff policies on China don't change. These small businesses are largely, this is a founder and CEO of Flexport. These small businesses are largely unable to move their manufacturing out of China. They are last in line when they try to go to a new country. This guy's talking about long term. I'm talking about short term. I'm talking about in the next month or so, you are going to see significant impacts. Even if Trump changed even if Donald Trump, like I said, tomorrow or today said, it's time to reverse this tariff shit. I'm sorry, my bad. And China played ball, okay? You would still see a lot of immediate impacts in terms of empty shelves in the next month or so because trade has all but halted. The manufacturers in Vietnam and elsewhere can't be bothered with small batch production jobs, typical of a small business supply chain. When the brands fail, they will be purchased out of bankruptcy by their Chinese factories, who thus far have built everything except the customer-facing brand, which is where most of the value capture happens already. Consumer goods companies typically mark up the goods 3x or more to support their fixed costs, including millions of American employees. Now the factories will get to vertically integrate and capture the one part of the chain they haven't yet dominated. American businesses import $600 billion worth of goods from China every year. Assuming typical retail markups we see in Flexport data, those goods create almost $2 trillion worth of sales every year. In the week since the tariffs hit, ocean freight booking from China are down 50% across the industry. Flexport bookings from China are down more like 35%, but sources at carriers and forwarders indicate 50% is the industry-wide stat. That is 50% of all trade coming in from China. That is 30% of all goods. 15% of all goods is gone. It evaporated. Do you understand what that looks like? 15% of all goods that you normally would get gone. That's around $1 trillion of economic activity wiped out. And these companies tend to run very lean, financing inventory and reinvesting excess cash in more marketing and growth initiatives. If the goods stop, many will die. And when they die, it may actually be the final victory for the Chinese manufacturers as they scoop up brands that took decades to build through the blood, sweat, and tears of some of the most creative and entrepreneurial people in the world. American brand builders are second to none worldwide. The fact is, America will have to back off these tariffs. It's just a question of when. Even if it's not this administration, a future one will realize they've got to get us out of this recession. No, it has to be this administration, because I don't even think Trump would be able to survive this for an entire year, because we would be in a Great Depression by that point. Because understand what I'm saying. Understand what I'm fucking saying here. Trade halts in its entirety. That means the trucking industry plummets. That means the fucking the ports are out of business. It's over. A Great Depression, the greatest of depression. People lose their jobs. People no longer have the finances to purchase things, and then more domestic, and then the domestic products that are being sold. Like the agriculture business collapsed because people just don't have enough money to fucking buy shit that they need to buy. And then they fire the people on that side. And for Americans, perhaps the scariest scenario becomes reality. No more burger. Think about that. Think about a world without burger. Close your eyes and just think. No more cheeseburger. Do you know what that world looks like? Do you want to live in that world where no more cheeseburger is a reality? That's right. I certainly don't. Give me burger or give me death. Stop giving the vegans a W. Dog, what are you talking about? You think the vegan alternatives are going to fucking exist in this process? You think you're going to have money? With what money are you going to purchase your vegan food? No more money. No more money because no more job. No more job means no more money. No more money means even less jobs. I've reported you to Twitch for saying no burger. Shut the fuck up. Yeah. Yeah, we go from everything's computer to nothing is computer, okay? No more computer. Fantastic stuff. Amazing. Amazing, dude. My goat. He's doing the damn thing. Let's get back.
This morning, China's Ministry of Commerce pushed back, saying any claims about the progress of China-U.S. trade negotiations are groundless, as trying to catch the wind and have no factual basis. And now 12 Democratic-controlled states are suing the president to stop his tariffs. Arizona is one of the states, and its attorney general called the tariffs insane and illegal because the president can only set tariffs if there's an extraordinary threat against the country. They argue there isn't, and so that's why they're suing, Tony.
All right, Ed, while we have you, President Trump has made a career out of leveraging his personal brand, his personal name, but now there are new ethics questions around a meme coin that could lead to a private dinner with the president. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It has to do with the president's meme coin cryptocurrency, which got a major boost after its website posted an announcement offering a, quote, intimate private dinner with President Trump at his golf club out in Virginia next month. The catch, it'll go to 220 people who buy the most Trump cryptocurrency in the next few weeks. And the top 25 get to meet the president at a private VIP reception. He launched the so-called meme coin just days before the inauguration, and it's controlled by businesses linked to him, meaning the president stands to profit, at least on paper, when the price increases. The latest move of the president in this realm has ethics watchdogs and Democrats.
Yeah, what are they going to do about it? You know what I mean? I love that. Dude, he is. What a fucking circus, dude. What a circus. What a clown show. Look at this photo, man. Oh my God. This is amazing. I'm sorry. If I was. Like, Europeans watch us from afar and laugh at the fucking clown show, not realizing that this will have impact in their countries too. But if I was like a Chinese netizen watching from afar, oh, greatest show of all time, okay? Greatest show of all time. Trump, the nation builder for China, is right. It's impossible to engage in satire It's impossible to engage in satire in a situation like this because, like, real life is more insane than anything you could make up. Wow. You're just jealous you don't get to meet our king? So funny, the far-right leader here in Portugal is trying to say Portugal needs to tear off other countries and everyone's calling him a whack job. Amazing.
When the price increases. The latest move of the president in this realm has ethics watchdogs and Democrats crying foul. Senator Chris Murphy, for example, called it the most brazenly corrupt thing a president has ever done. Part of the concern, Tony, is who exactly spends the money to get in the room with the president to try to influence him on policy. That's what has people so concerned. And are they American business leaders? Are they someone else? Are they foreigners potentially getting in there and getting some time with the president?
Could be anyone. Ed, thank you very much.
None of that is true. For all I know, China and the U.S. are not having any consultation. This is from straight out of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Beijing. We will fight. If fight we must. Our doors are open if the U.S. wants to talk. Dialogue and negotiation must be based on equality, respect, and mutual benefit. Give me a fucking Xi Jinping, what's up, Beijing, supercharged Sigma edit right now. I need it. I need it. Give me something. I need to see something right now. I need to feel good about it. The Chinese people will never allow any foreign forces to bully, oppress, or enslave us. Anyone who dares to try to do that will have their heads bashed. This is what I was looking for. Oh, God. A real do-nothing win. Real do-nothing win moment.
She's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden.
Okay, this sucks. I don't want to see this. I don't want to be reminded of Kamala Harris. Wait, this one, please, is the best. I like, dude, you know what's funny about this? Like, if you're under the age of 35, you have no allegiance to this goddamn country. Okay? And this is what the boomers don't understand. This is what a lot of people that at least saw like a crumb of prosperity, maybe even into the fucking 90s, cannot comprehend. They're like, why is the youth not as angry at China as I am? I don't understand. It's like, what do you mean? What? There's no loyalty here. Why would I be fucking loyal to the United States of America? What are you talking about? What has America done for anyone under the age of 35? I'm a spectacularly fortunate person. Okay? I am an immensely fortunate person. So I'm in a different predicament here. But because I'm stubborn and give a fuck about people who have significantly less than I do, I'm pissed off all the fucking time. But if you're a regular guy who, I don't know, graduated in any time period post 2008, all you have known is impossible to pay rents, dog shit fucking jobs with dog shit fucking wages and no benefits whatsoever. That's what this country has given you. No opportunity to retire and no financial stability. And in order to make up for that, people just find themselves in these idiotically desperate moments where they're like, oh, I'm going to do Sigma grindset with drop shipping. Oh, I'm just going to fucking gamble until I win. Dumping the meager wages that I've made into this like hopium with the hopes that I can have some semblance of upward social mobility by a stroke of luck. Why the fuck would anybody be loyal to the United States of America when America's given them nothing? All they know is economic instability and fucking endless war. Why? That's why so many people are fucking making these like meme edits and shit and joking about Chinese prosperity. And it probably bricks so many people's brains where they're like, what do you mean? This is so stupid. This must be TikTok. It's like, no, dude, it's not TikTok, okay? It's not. It's America's material conditions. It's the same shit with Israel, bro. They're like, oh my God, people are getting to see the truth on TikTok, so it's making them anti-Semitic. It's like, no, dumbass. It's because Israel is broadcasting all the insanity. Israel's broadcasting a fucking live stream Holocaust every goddamn day. Of course, people are gonna be like, what the fuck is this? What is going on here? This is bullshit. Will she press the communism button in 2050? Maybe one day. Okay, this is the last one.
Good evening to everyone here in the United States, and good morning to you, Mr. President, in Beijing.
Was that Beijing?
Okay, all right, enough. All right, enough.
Started with a deadly attack by...
All right, India cancels Pakistani visas and freezes new applications. We're going to talk about India now. Is ArunAnnow available? All right, actually, you know what? Before we get to that, while we wait, let's do this. This is a new, more perfect union video. New, Trump promised to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. Mack Trucks is calling his bluff. Mack announced is building a new plant in Mexico and laying off 350 U.S. workers. Workers tell us the solution isn't Trump's chaotic tariffs, it's North American minimum wage.
A lot of people, when they think about Trump.
Oh, he is in here. All right. He said, check DMs. Give me 1 sec. All right. I'm going to watch this first, and then I'll have you on.
They think about a Mack truck.
Last year, Mack Truck, the storied American company, announced its opening of a huge new factory. Not here in Pennsylvania, where workers have built Macks for over 100 years, but here in Mexico, where the company can pay workers 1/10 of what its American workers make.
I was dumbfounded.
It was basically like a kick in our teeth, like we're not good enough.
We went to Pennsylvania to speak to the people who build.
Have you learned about the history of Xi and how his dad was in prison under Mao? Yes, I know that.
Mack Trucks.
I felt that they lied right to our faces.
Oh, they lied. Everything that happened after that was in bad faith.
Just weeks later, Mack announced hundreds of layoffs.
The automaker says it plans to lay off as many as 350 workers at its Lehigh Valley Operations Center.
Hello, everybody.
President Trump, for years, has said his trade deals will stop exactly this kind of offshoring.
We have replaced a disastrous trade deal that rewarded outsourcing.
So why are iconic American companies still moving to Mexico?
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
And with Trump's new tariffs backfiring,
Mack says President Trump's tariffs are the driving force for the company's decision to trim its workforce.
What would it actually take to stop jobs like these from leaving?
My name is Yvonne Ledford, and I am a production technician at Mack Trucks. I love my job. Wouldn't trade it for the world. When I see them out on the road, I wonder if that's one that I built, or I know that's one I've built. I did that. I helped them with that. And my kids are like, oh, Mom, there's a Mack. Did you build that one?
Mack Truck in Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley builds heavy-duty trucks like semi-trailers, garbage trucks, and utility vehicles.
Growing up, when my friends would say, you know, my dad works at Mack, they typically had the nicer stuff.
About 2,500 people work at Mack's Lehigh Valley plant. The company is now owned by Volvo, the Swedish automaker. But wages are not what they used to be.
And the reason for why is, you might have guessed it, DEI. That's right. DEI is the reason. That it's don't look into anything else. It's trans people. Have you thought about trans people today? Have you thought about Guatemalan immigrants today? You haven't been thinking about them enough. They're doing violence, and you must know, and you must get angry. Please get angry.
In 2023, Mack workers decided to go on strike.
Employees at a Mack truck plant in Makanji outside of Allentown plan to go on strike later this morning.
After voting down a tentative 5-year contract agreement,
Mack truck owner Volvo Trucks says it is committed to returning to the bargaining table to reach a new agreement.
We wanted better wages, job security. Being a single mom,
By the way, Volvo is... So, I need you to understand something. Volvo, right, is also, you might be surprised to find this out, owned by China. Volvo is now a Chinese company. It's a Geely Holding Group that owns Volvo. I think the biggest proof that Marxism is correct is how much pride all workers have in their workers, in their work, no matter how menial and unskilled their labor might seem.
live with my parents. I can't afford to live on my own, and it sucks.
Last year, we got killed with inflation. And I know that money is there for Colin. We got to get it back on the table.
In the heavy-duty truck market.
Maybe not the trucks. Volvo Trucks is separate, I believe. They have full ownership. Maybe Volvo Cars is different than Volvo Trucks. But Volvo Cars, they own. The majority shareholder of the Volvo Group that owns Volvo Trucks is AB Volvo, sometimes referred to as Investor AB. This is a Swedish investment company that was founded by the Wallenberg business and investment family dynasty. Never mind. Volvo Trucks are still owned by a Swedish investment group.
Mack and Volvo together make up about 17%, and their biggest competitor is Daimler, the German automaker. During bargaining, Mack told the union it wanted to increase its market share. To do that, Mac wanted a longer workday and a new plant.
The plant manager came to me and said, hey, look, we're busting at the seams. We need to
That AI bot channel, Hasanabi Archive, is setting you up with one of their right-wingish titles. They uploaded your reaction to that TikTok you reacted to in the beginning of the stream, even though you downplayed it. It said it doesn't matter, such as Asmongold. This anti-men trend is getting out of control. The rad femmes will be on your ass again because of it. Oh, ay, every fucking day, bro. Why is this? Why is this? Where is it? Am I not seeing it? God, I fucking hate this channel. They already deleted it? Or is it one of the other ones? Change 0 to 3. How many do they fucking have? 12K views, bro. 12K fucking views. I can't copy strike them. I can't. I think they bought this shit for sure. This is dangerous. Yeah, that's what I said. I said the exact fucking opposite. They upload way too fast as a bot. They just liked your comment, bro. This is why free IP is kind of bad sometimes.
Kevin Fraunheiser had been working with Mac's local management on a plan to expand in this area. He and other Mac workers wanted to make sure that the company did not follow the lead of Daimler, which makes about 2/3 of its medium and heavy-duty trucks in Mexico.
So we got together. I said, I know of a couple places that maybe would work. They were going up for sale. So we took a ride over there, and the plant manager seemed very excited. We had politicians that were willing to work with us. The landowners were willing to work with us. The governor was about to step in and start working with us to secure.
I don't know if Chad understands how YouTube is holding you hostage over this by saying they won't do anything about the bot channel without you enforcing your copyright across the board. Yes. I hope you guys understand. If I take them down, the entirety of like the fan channels are gone. You understand that, right? I like there's no YouTube doesn't want the fucking copycat fan channels to exist anyway. That's why they take them out regularly, ironically enough. And I have to go back and talk to YouTube and be like, no, you have to keep up these channels. Like, it's ridiculous. You don't need to. Why though? Oh my God. I'm explaining to you what the fucking problem is.
Secure this and make this a future site for Mack trucks in the Lehigh Valley. They also had a builder that was willing to jump in and help, and it would have been done by union labor. We were going to cut through some red tape. We had some grants in the Lehigh Valley that were going to pay for railroad to come right to the back of the plant so we could ship the trucks easier. There would have been a huge tax break.
Mack Trucks is pushing back against the United Auto Workers Union.
We should be at 40 hours and that's it. Anything after that should be paid overtime.
As the strike dragged on, Mac gave the union an ultimatum. Accept its contract, including a longer workday, or it would bring in...
No, they did not remove Hebrew auto translate because Israelis couldn't defend the way their citizens actually speak. No shot. Ain't no fucking way. Wait, someone send me a fucking Hebrew tweet. I need to see. No, there's no, that is shocking. Okay, let's see. Official X account for Israel. It's all in fucking English. God damn it. Let's see. No, it still works. Okay. Enough of the genocide in Gaza. Enough of the abandonment of the kidnap. War criminals to justice, says Ofer Kasif. It still works. All right. You know what? I'm going to talk to Arun now. Let's talk about India, Pakistan. I'm going to hit him up right now. I'm going to give him a call.
What's up?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, 1 second. Hold on a second. I can hear you. My audio's fucked up a little bit.
No, I can hear you.
Yeah, I know. I can hear you through my headphones. That's what's going on. Okay. I think we should be good. Hello. Okay, speak.
Hello.
Yep, I can hear you. Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
Your camera's not on, I don't think. Is it? Yeah.
No, I'm turning it on. Hold on a second.
All right.
Okay.
Boom.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see you.
What's up? Can Chad see me?
Yes.
Let me pull up my thing on screen. All right, what's up, everyone? How you doing?
All right. We're gonna talk about India canceling Pakistani visas, freezing new applications in the aftermath of what happened in Kashmir with ArunAnnow, also known as Indian Hasanabi, as he says, but I'm the Turkish Arun.
He is the Turkish Arun. That is correct.
Yeah, he's also like 6'3", by the way. Don't let this camera angle fool you.
Yeah, we're basically almost the same height.
Yeah, it's crazy.
People were like losing their mind when we actually met in person. They're like, "What the fuck, Arun? You're this tall?"
Yeah, it shocked me to my core as well. All right. So I have some opinions on Kashmir that I've talked about before. I'm not the most knowledgeable on the situation, but from what I understand, I remember there was a period of like a lot of censorship and complete occupation from the Indian government. This is territory that, as far as I understand, is predominantly Muslim. But
Yeah.
is maintained at this moment in an occupational process by the Indian government. And I remember them shutting off electricity,
internet as well.
What's up?
Complete internet shutdown. Yeah.
Complete
There's
internet
also
shutdown, complete internet and electricity shutdown as they greatly escalated their occupation a couple of years prior, and it's still very much controlled, from what I understand, but like by figures sympathetic to India and like direct control, even though the population itself is Muslim.
Okay, so you basically hit the basics. You're right.
Yeah.
So it is currently under military occupation. Kashmir is. Kashmir is. So we have to, in order to actually understand Kashmir a little bit, we have to. It's a lot more diverse than people think it is, because it's actually divided into several regions, and it's administered, controlled by different parties. So part of it is controlled by China, part of it is controlled by obviously India, and then part of it is controlled by Pakistan. And it's a very ethnically diverse region as well. So most of the people that we're going to be talking about today are Kashmiri, like ethnically Kashmiri people. But if you like, those people live in the Kashmir Valley. But if you go to Gilgit-Baltistan, you go to Ladakh, which are different regions of the overall Kashmir region, they're going to be basically they're going to be different ethnic groups, right? But yes, you're generally right in that the majority of that region is Muslim, right? The majority of that region is Muslim. The most pressing region in that is the Kashmir Valley, which is basically like Srinagar, Pahalgam, which we'll get to in a second, Budgam and Baramulla and all these different Varmula and all these different cities in the Kashmir Valley. And yes, Kashmir is a type of cloth. Guess where it gets its name? That it comes from Kashmir. That's why it got its name, because the average for a very long time, and I don't know the specifics too much, but if I'm not mistaken, for a long time, the ethnic Kashmiri people lived under different monarchies. They lived under the Afghans, they lived under Mughals, they lived under Sikhs as well. And they were basically treated like shit for centuries. They were basically, for the longest time, they were basically serfs. They were feudal peasants, basically slaves, right? So that's basically been their existence for several hundred years at this point. And the most recent, like, a lot of this conflict comes from the fact that at some point, that Kashmir region that I'm talking about, with majority Kashmiri people, Kashur-speaking people, they eventually fell under the rule of the Dogras. Now, Dogras are the majority. They're the majority ethnic group of Jammu, which is the neighboring region to the south, and they were under the rule of Hari Singh, who was the king of that region. So that's basically a general. There's a distinct Kashmiri identity, which I want to hammer home. Right, Kashmiri. A lot of Indians don't actually know this. Kashmiris are an actual ethnic group. They just think, oh, Muslim this, Muslim that, right? No, Kashmiris are an actual ethnic group that are indigenous to that region, right? So there's this weird misconception that like the Kashmiris are just Pakistani immigrants or whatever in India, which is bullshit. It's complete nonsense. We also have Kashmiris in the chat, Saeed Wanka, as well as a guy from Kashmir as well. So getting to what happened recently over the past 2 days, you have a bunch of Indian tourists visiting a city called Pahalgam. Rohan Davis, my goat, he's a ArunAnnow Indian Hasanabi certified. He did a really good breakdown on what's going on here. Basically, so in Pahalgam, which is a city in the Kashmir Valley, there were a bunch of tourists. Now, there is a group that's an offshoot of a far right militant organization called Lashkar-e-Taiba. I think it was Kashmir Liberation Front or the Liberation Front or something like that. I forgot the acronym of it, but they basically they launched an attack on these Indian tourists. Now, the vast majority of them were Hindus, right? I think there was one Muslim guy that was trying to help the tourists basically escaped from this attack. And the long story short, he was also killed. Right? It's called the Resistance Front.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of the militant group that actually attacked those tourists.
There was a lot of misinformation that was spreading about this initially, as is expected. But one thing that I saw that I wanted to ask you if there's veracity to this is like they were trying to make sure that they were only killing Hindus or something like that was, or is that just like Israel style commentary on the situation to stoke racial tensions, or is there any veracity to that?
So the thing is, a lot of the militant groups, I think the vast majority of militant groups in Kashmir at this point are far right Muslim fundamentalists at this point. So there's, again, I haven't been able to comb through whether that's actually true or not, but there may be they're far right extremists. They're far right Muslim fundamentalists at this point, including these guys, right? So there's probably some element of truth in that they were specifically seeking out Hindu tourists, probably. But at the same time, like the immediate reaction from Kashmiris themselves, Kashmiri Muslims, by the way, was a complete and utter condemnation. Is a complete and utter condemnation on like this attack. So immediately, like again, whether that's true or not is irrelevant to the point, because Kashmiris immediately in the wake of that completely condemned it entirely. And at the same time, they immediately said we have nothing to do with this, so on and so forth. Right. So that is a completely moot point.
Okay. So from what I understand, and I guess this is what Rohan is saying as well, which is that this is a direct byproduct of colonial occupation, or not colonial occupation, but just like military occupation over a region that has a different ethnicity and wants autonomy, whether that is led by more fundamentalist elements that have gotten training as a direct consequence of actions that America played in the region, and then this destabilization, or this allowed groups like the one we're talking about right now to take control over the liberation movement and move it in whichever direction, to say like maybe they want to align with Pakistan or whatever. Doesn't necessarily matter, but it's a direct byproduct of a settler colonial military occupation over the region, right?
Yes. So like whatever the, like, obviously okay. I'm going to make one thing perfectly clear for chat. Obviously the killing was horrific. The killing of innocent civilians is absolutely horrific. There's nothing that justifies that. Kashmiris will tell you this themselves. They literally protested, or they literally did a demonstration. So obviously, like, I'm not justifying any killing. Okay, shut the fuck up, chat. Second of all, you're right. It is out and about a military. It is a military occupation. And I'm going to talk about one thing. I'm going to talk about a very similar conflict in this, because there's another liberation struggle here, because it's very similar, and there's a connection here. It's the Elam liberation struggle in Elam, the Tamil liberation struggle in Elam. So those two are actually quite connected here, because the Indian Army is involved in both instances, right? So but a lot of the stuff that the Indian Army is doing in Kashmir is very similar to what the Sri Lankan government has been doing to Tamils, and also quite similar to what the Indian government has been doing to Tamils in Elam as well, right? So there are very stark similarities. There's been enforced disappearances, mass trigger warning sexual assaults, mass rapes here. What the Indian government has been doing to the Kashmiri people for decades is genuinely horrific. And this is there's a podcast named after this phenomenon, where if you oppress a group of people long enough, there's something that is eventually going to come back at you and, blow in a particular way. You know what I mean? There's blowback? I know, it's a crazy phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're seeing here is a perfect example of blowback. What we're seeing is decades and decades and decades. Again, this is not justification. This is an observation of what is actually happening, right? So what is going on here is that we are seeing decades upon decades upon decades of oppression of the Kashmiri people by the Indian state, right? And forced militarization. Again, Kashmir is one of the most militarized region, is the most militarized region in the world. On top of that, basically you have the general gist of what's going on here. It is a complete military occupation. There are military checkpoints. There have been things such as the mass blinding campaign of Kashmiris, where when Kashmiris would go into the streets and protest for their liberation or for their independence or whatever, they would directly get attacked by the Indian military, and they would get rubber pellets shot into their eyes, and they would be permanently blinded by the Indian state. The mass blinding campaign. Yes, there's a thing about. There's been a massive situation where the Indian government has been engaging in mass blinding campaigns of Kashmiris.
Okay, so this attack takes place, and the Indian government springs into action. What are the events that unfolded since then? From what I understand, they canceled Pakistani visas, froze new applications, and perhaps even more consequentially, more significantly, they are revoking the Indus Waters Treaty. From what I understand, Pakistan has deemed India's suspension of the Indus Water Treaty an act of war following the deadly tourist attack in Kashmir's Pahalgam. Here's what you need to know about India's Indus Water Treaty freeze. This shuts off waterways into Pakistan because India is saying that the militant formations only happen under the watchful eye of Pakistan, right? Like that's what they're saying.
Yeah, so India is basically saying they've revoked the Indus Waters Treaty. They're trying to freeze water into Pakistan, which is this is idiotic red meat that Modi is throwing at his base. That's what this entire that is basically what Modi said, and this entire thing about blocking water going into Pakistan is completely stupid because, as many in India have already pointed out, in order for that to happen, India has to build a dam.
Oh, they don't even have a way to dam it.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
I
just
thought that there was at least already like a dam.
Yeah, they need a dam to actually block the water. So they literally just said, "Hey, no, we're gonna block water going into Pakistan." And this is literally just he just said, "Yeah, we're just gonna block water going to Pakistan."
How are they gonna do it?
The entire thing is just him posturing on the situation. That's it.
This is so
like
Trump.
Literally
coded.
just like
this is such a Trump move, dude. Modi and Trump, incredible allies.
Yeah, it is. You haven't seen some of his speeches in Hindi. That's why he says some really unhinged shit in Hindi. That's why. I mean, I don't speak Hindi, and I probably never will. But
okay,
please highlight how the upturning of the autonomy of J&K led to this. Yes. So again, the other main accelerant is by 2019. At that point, I mean the special protections that Jammu and Kashmir had up until that very point had already basically been hollowed out. Any sort of special protections that J&K might have had, that Kashmir might have had, were already hollowed out by the Congress government at that point, and Congress had already been using. They already had laws on the books like UAPA, like Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, and especially Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which they'd actually deployed in the northeastern parts of India, which is Nagaland, Mizoram, so on and so forth, long before they'd actually started doing this in Kashmir as well. So basically, the long story short is that they have, at that point, Kashmiri's autonomy had already been eroded, whatever autonomy they might have had. But in 2019, Modi's government basically revoked Article 370, which was the constitutional article that gave Kashmir these special protections as a part of the instrument of accession to India that Hari Singh signed, right? And so what had happened then is that Modi's administration basically said, you no longer are a state. We are going to split the region. One side is going to be the residual part of Jammu and Kashmir, and the other part is now Ladakh. Ladakh is a separate union territory. So they're both union territories, and they were governed as separate unit. They're still governed as separate union territories. And for about 5 years from 2019, they had no local authority. They had no chief minister. So they were directly ruled by Delhi. Now, the current ruler, Omar Abdullah, is generally despised by the Kashmiri community.
Okay, this seems like a PA style.
It
PA
is.
versus Hamas style situation. Not to bring it back to Israel, but
No. Because here's the okay. So Israel, India, and then I'm going to bring this up again. Sri Lanka, India, Sri Lanka, very similar in their rhetoric, very similar in their actions, very similar in what they're actually doing. Right? And also Pakistan kind of plays a role in this as well, because again, what they're doing in Balochistan is in many ways very similar. What Bangladesh is doing in CHT, Chittagong Hill Tracts, is also very similar to this. Right? There's a lot of occupation and settler colonization that is happening in the subcontinent. Right? So this is by no means, and this is one of the things I want to impress upon the audience. What you're seeing in Gaza, what you're seeing in West Bank, that's not unique. It's not unique at all. Many other countries are doing this.
yeah.
Right? The reason that you're seeing the reason that Israel gets a lot of attention is
colonial
Israel.
occupation always applies very similar methods of dividing and conquering and creating Bantustan style structures as well, whether it be in South Africa and apartheid South Africa, or whether it be the way that these nation states were designed by European powers in the aftermath of World War I in the region directly.
Yes, and as Nerd That Was Promised says, Kashmiris have faced mass killings, forced disappearances, rapes, murders, torture, and a West Bank-style checkpoint regime from the Indian military, as you know, Tamils and Elam have as well. So it's all very connected with one another. It's very, a lot of the stuff that I've especially seen coming out of late, it's very reminiscent of what I've seen in Sri Lanka previously, in Elam previously. So yes, as far as the Waters Treaty is concerned, this is basically just a move to posture against Pakistan. Now the thing is, the biggest indication of how Pakistan is taking it is Pakistani Twitter is memeing about the entire thing. They're just relaxing and they're memeing about the entire situation. It's like that 50 Cent meme where he's like, "Fuck me." What'd you say fuck me for? Right? They're just casually memeing on Twitter.
The
basically.
causal connection here from India's side, for whether it's propaganda or if there's any truth to it or not, is the fact that they're claiming that the resistance front that you're talking about is backed by the Pakistani government.
Yes,
or the
they
Pakistani military, right? That's what they're trying to say.
Yes. So Pakistan is backing the Pakistani. They are opportunistically backing the Kashmiri militants because, again, Pakistan doesn't actually care about Kashmir either, right? Let's just make that abundantly clear. Kashmiris will tell you this themselves. Pakistan does not actually give a flying fuck about the Kashmiri people in general. They do not give a shit, right? It is for many people in Pakistan, it is just a way of. It's the same way that India weaponizes Balochistan against Pakistan.
It's not dissimilar to like Iran almost.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm eating. So
no, I was just eating before you. No, I was just well, yeah, that's basically what's going on. And now so after all that, what's been happening so far? So some of the immediate backlash as a result of this. So some of the immediate backlash of this is that the Indian news media has immediately gone on their revenge campaign in the wake of this attack. There's a hashtag called "We Want Revenge" in the wake of the Pahalgam attacks, right? There was a hashtag called "We Want Revenge" that was trending with 12,000 tweets. There are 12,000 tweets basically saying "We want revenge" as a result of that, and many people online were basically noticing the way that Hindu nationalists, especially, were reacting in response to all this. Let me see if I can find one of these things immediately.
I have one right here. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up. Is this Hindu on campus tweet?
Oh yeah, I know.
Today, in the northern Indian state of Kashmir, Islamist terrorists opened fire on Hindu tourists in Pahalgam, killing at least 28 people, with many more severely injured.
Pause. Okay, so quick inside baseball. I've gotten into Twitter beefs with these guys before because these guys are the most annoying losers I've ever seen in my life. They are the most annoying losers I've ever seen in my life. And on top of that, I've gotten one thing that you'll notice immediately out of the gate is that they will talk about Hindu genocide this, Hindu genocide that, Hindu genocide this, Hindu genocide that. But again, sorry to bring this up again, but one great example of a Hindu majority ethnic group that was straight up slaughtered and massacred en masse by another country that these guys seem to be very silent about. Tamils.
Yeah.
Tamils are Elam Tamils. They're a Hindu majority ethnic group that were directly slaughtered by the Sri Lankan government, whose temples are being destroyed by the Sri Lankan Sinhalese Buddhist nationalist government. They never mention Elam. Elam never gets into their mouth. Isn't that interesting? Now, the reason they don't ever point out Elam, they don't ever mention Tamils at all, is because they cannot spin it as this civilizational conflict
between Islam, like Muslims. Wait, I lost your voice there. We can't hear you anymore. I don't know what happened. Wait, okay, I can hear you now.
Wait 1 second.
But it's low.
Hear me now? How's my audio?
Yeah, it's good now. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so the reason they don't mention Elam or Sri Lanka at all is because they cannot pin this on Muslims whatsoever. They cannot pin this on Islam. But now they're immediately, again, and a lot of the talking points that you're seeing you will immediately see that they're very similar to Zionists.
Yeah,
they're immediately similar to Zionists. You will see what they're saying immediately, and you will see the almost Zionist talking points that you're hearing here.
Well, the one thing I saw was a dude being like, no, the only place where Hindus are free.
Yeah, we're the only Hindu country. Yes.
Yeah, we're the only Hindu country in the world, and even then we're not free, or something, or we're not safe, which is
even then we're not safe. Yes, I remember that tweet.
Yeah,
I don't have it on me.
That tweet right there was just it just rung the Hasbara bell for me.
Yeah, it is. A lot of these talking points are they're extremely similar to Hasbara, 100%. They're extremely similar to Hasbara. A lot of these talking points will sound like Hasbara because it is very similar. These are talking points specifically used to justify horrific crimes done by the Indian state against Kashmiri civilians, against Kashmiris. All of this is literally, all of what they're about to say, just to remind you what Kashmiris have been dealing with for decades. They have been treated like shit for centuries. The average Kashmiri person has been living as they have been in. It's not just a religious divide. As Rohan mentions, there's a huge class divide that Kashmiris have had to deal with for a very long time, right? Because the majority of Kashmiris did not have access. They were directly oppressed by the British and previous administrations. And then once India became independent, again, they still continued to face direct suppression by the hands of the state, right? They were again, like I mentioned, enforced disappearances, mass rapes. Let me see if I can pull up an example of what actually they've been doing.
I got a statement here. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken with his Indian counterpart to offer condolences for the Kashmir attack. Prime Minister Modi thanked them for sharing in India's mourning and emphasized that the two countries stand shoulder to shoulder in the global campaign against murderous terrorism. Netanyahu's office said in a statement. Here, while you're pulling that up, let's keep watching what he has to say.
Being described as the worst massacre against the Hindu people in Indian history since the 26/11 attacks in 2008.
Terrorists specifically targeted Hindus.
Okay, pause.
Hindu civilians were...
Okay, so chat, for those of you who don't know what 26/11 is, it's the terrorist attacks that happened in Mumbai, in the Oberoi Theater and in the Oberoi Hotel and several hotels in Mumbai. So when they say 2611, it was an attack carried out by Lashkar-e-Taiba, again, a far-right Muslim fundamentalist organization. I think this contingent was directly from Pakistan, that basically came into India and basically massacred civilians. Indians often consider this to be the 9/11 of India. Hence why, I mean, 2611 is November 26th, but that's the thing that they're referencing here.
Yeah.
Singled out, stripped naked, humiliated, and then checked for circumcision to confirm their religion. Checked to see if they had the...
Wait, I don't understand. Oh,
What?
because Indians don't get circumcised?
No, Hindus don't get circumcised.
No,
No,
okay, yeah, got it. Because I was going to
Hindus
say...
don't have to. Yeah, Hindus don't have to get circumcised.
Yeah, Muslims get circumcised. So I was like, what? I forgot for a second that only America is one of the only places on the planet where you don't have a majority Jewish or Muslim population where everybody gets circumcised.
Yeah, yeah. Indians, well, not Indians. Hindus. Hindus. Yeah. Generally speaking, India is, in theory, it's supposed to be a secular country, but Modi and his administration are doing everything to make sure that that's not the case.
I mean, and this will, it seems like this will also be used as an opportunity to bring in the ranks and instill more racial tension or instill more ethnic tension.
Yeah.
And justify atrocities towards not only the Kashmiri population, but Muslims as a whole, right?
Yes. Already we actually see, there's a report out, I think today, where 1,500 Kashmiris were literally just rounded up by the police and disappeared. There was a report out today where 1,500 of Kashmiris were in the wake of this. They were rounded up by the Kashmiri state, by the Indian state.
Some aged at 14, it said on this tweet. 1,700 plus
what?
Kashmiri Muslims have been arrested by Indian intelligence agencies this morning and taken to unknown locations. Youngsters from 14 years old to 30 years old. I don't know if this is correct or not.
I don't know what the exact number on that is. The Kashmiri journalist is saying that it is 1,500. So this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing it off of Kashmiri Journal. 1,500 Kashmiris have been kidnapped by the Indian state so far. Again, this is adding to the the mass enforced disappearances that the Indian state has been engaging in against Kashmiris as well.
Yeah, they have West Bank style like torture disappearance regime as well, from what I understand.
Yes, they do. It is, again, a lot of things that you're seeing in Kashmir is going to be very similar to what you've been seeing, especially in all of the conflicts that I've mentioned thus far, right? Is going to be very similar to what you're seeing in the West Bank. I want to hammer home, if you're not in India, please stop yelling at Indian leftists for not saying some certain things openly. The pro-occupation propaganda runs very deep, and most Indians don't have to contend. That is another thing I do want to mention. So you're from, obviously you're from Turkey, right? So you're Turkish, Arun, obviously. So there are some things in Turkey that you're probably familiar with that you cannot talk about openly.
Yeah, like the Armenian genocide.
Armenian genocide is a great example. I think you cannot openly voice your support for an independent Kurdistan in Turkey, right?
Yeah,
you
can, but you'll get penalized for it.
Yeah, it's the same
repercussions for it.
Yes, it's the same thing here. You can very easily get swept up by the police. If you are not, even if you're not a Kashmiri person, if you're a Kashmiri person, you're already like under strict surveillance. You are constantly under, if you're living in Kashmir, you're under strict surveillance. You're living in basically military occupation. If you live outside of Kashmir and you live in mainland India, you are also probably going to be surveilled as well. So you also cannot be open and honest about your opinions on your self-determination. On top of that, but even if you're not from Kashmir, it is a very this is one of those issues. This is one of two issues in India that you cannot, openly voice your opinion on. And on top of that, so it's not just the other thing to keep in mind is it's not just the Hindu nationalists on here that are like immediately, bloodthirsty in the wake of this. Indian liberals are also very bloodthirsty at the moment. And even Vijay Prashad, who is a member of the Communist Party of India Marxist, the CPIM, recently made a statement. And I didn't read the full statement, or at least I don't remember the full statement that he said. Not Vijay, not Vivek, Vijay Prashad. He made a statement regarding the attacks, which you could basically amount to a sort of labor Zionist talking point. Because the CPIM, one of the two issues that they suck on is Kashmir, and the other issue that they suck on is that they're really bad on is Elam. Again, they several decades earlier, they threw out members of their own party for opposing the Indian army entering Elam, currently occupied by Sri Lanka, and basically mass raping Tamils and going to hospitals and shooting them dead, basically. So yes, CPIM is all. Yes, this is the statement. Someone linked it in the chat. Thank you. Vijay Prashad also made a statement, which is, again, it's very reminiscent. It's very reminiscent reminiscent of what you would expect from a labor Zionist, basically, and that's basically how a lot of communist parties in this region generally operate. The moment you start talking about self-determination struggles, that's when they immediately basically waffle a lot more, basically. By the way, am I making sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think there's a direct analog here.
For India at Kashmir, surely it can't be land like it is with Israel. No, it literally is the land, actually. Kashmir is the source of water for both Pakistan and India. It is land. That is the reason. A lot of these conflicts are all about land. The same thing with, again, Elam. Elam is in the middle of Sri Lanka is in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It is home to a deep sea port, Trincomalee, meaning you can stick any ship you want there. It's vital for trade. That's why Tamil self-determination, in a very similar fashion to the Kashmiri militants and in the Kashmiri self-determination struggle, has been violently quelched by the state.
So what do you suspect will happen? Like, where do you think this is going to go?
Where do I think this is going to go immediately? I mean, the immediate aftermath of what's going to happen is, so anyone that's saying that India and Pakistan are going to war, that's immediately not true. That's a silly thing. Because both India and Pakistan are nuclear armed countries. They're both they have nukes. So both of those
they'll do the cool border crossing ceremony.
Probably. I mean, they already do that already.
I love that shit. That shit is dope as hell.
No, but what's already happening, it's not what's going to happen. What is already happening is, like I mentioned, there's going to be increased crackdowns on Kashmiris living in Kashmir itself and outside of Kashmir in mainland India. And on top of that, this is going to further accelerate the settler colonialism that India has been engaging in, for the past several decades or so against Kashmiris. Again, there was a report earlier today. I think there was a report earlier today of Kashmiris basically being chased. I think in Chandigarh, if I can find that tweet, I'll send it to you. There's a report of Kashmiris of Kashmiri students being chased out of their homes, and they're basically being forced out by the local people that they're living next to, basically.
So pogroms,
yes. Yeah. Very, like, what we're probably going to see, unfortunately, is potentially a pogrom. Will the conflict only get worse with climate change affecting water access? Probably. India will clamp down on freedom in Kashmir. I don't know if there'll be an invasion, because Kashmir is literally the most militarized region in the world. Cannot invade a place that is already militarized. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, it's already invaded. Question that a lot of chatters have in speaking to their friends, they're saying that a lot of liberals around them living in the United States of America basically turned into like Hindutva fascists overnight in the aftermath of this. Like, is there any way to talk to them?
I think Rohan's video is a great start, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
To help them develop a better understanding of like how these things transpired.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think Rohan Davis is a great start. His videos are directly aimed at the Indian diaspora. He is a very progressive Indian citizen, and he is basically aiming his videos all at the Indian diaspora. So his videos can help a lot, I think. As far as that's concerned, the only thing that you can really do is you have to really educate yourself on the region. So you have to really educate yourself on what's going on in Kashmir, and you have to be able to strike down those talking points because they're already like obviously, they're going to have certain send them to Indian leftist streamers who are already part of the Hasanabi community.
What are some of the talking points that they're addressing? I wanted to. That's why I
one
wanted to
major
watch this.
one major talking point that they'll immediately bring up when you mention Kashmir is the Kashmiri pundits, the exodus of the Kashmiri pundits. That is the immediate thing that they'll bring up. Because so the Kashmiri pundits, if you don't know, Kashmiris are a majority Muslim ethnic group, but there's a tiny minority of Kashmiris that are Hindus. And the majority of those Kashmiri Hindus are pundits, they're Brahmins, they're upper castes, right? Now, the immediate aftermath of that. So what happened was in the 90s, there was already a exodus of Kashmiri Hindus leaving Kashmir already. But what accelerated that was attacks from, again, far right fundamentalist militants. And they had eventually, they were basically forced out. Now, there are a couple of things that they can, there's a couple of ways of combating that talking point, because one, the Modi administration has been using the Kashmiri pundits as also, yes, another thing that Mohammed mentioned is that there's a local Assam MLA. He's a Hindu guy, by the way, who was literally arrested by the Indian government for questioning the government's lack of intelligence on the attacks. Because another thing that India was saying up until this very point was, no, the revocation of Article 370, which turned J&K in Jammu and Kashmir into a union territory, after turning it into a union territory, everything's fine. Everyone was happily going to Jammu and Kashmir. There's nothing wrong. It's just Pakistan that is literally.
Oh, I lost you again. Your mic got cut off again. No, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Your mic got cut off. Oh, it's back for a second. Wait, speak again.
Yeah, my mic is out. I just got a new mic.
Oh,
I'm
boom.
getting it.
Okay, you're back.
I'm gonna get a Rodecaster, I promise. I'm gonna fix my mic setup.
All right.
So, but long story short, what was I saying? I was talking about the Kashmiri pundits, right? So obviously, yes, or he's a Muslim MLA from Muslim Party. Okay, so obviously, what happened to the Kashmiri pundits is a horrific tragedy. There's no question about it, right? And the long story short is that India has been engaging in decades of military occupation, yet till this day, the Kashmiri pundits have not been able to return home. Modi has been in power for 10 years.
Wait, when you were saying pundit, I thought you meant like
political pundit.
Yeah, political pundit.
No, pundit. That's where the term comes from, actually. So the word pundit comes from this word called pandit. We're gonna talk about the Zamindar, them being part of the Zamindar class as well. We'll talk about that as well. And why they were targets. Again, not justifying what they did, but I'm just telling you why they were prime targets. Right? Again, what happened to them was horrific.
Chad is saying it's a religious priest class, like similar to that.
Yeah, so pundits is another way of saying Brahmin, basically. So Brahmins are a group of castes. Okay. So Brahmins are a group of castes all throughout India. Again, this gets into caste a little bit, but they're the set of priest classes, priest castes all throughout India. So there's Ayers, Iyengars, Saraswat Brahmins, so on and so forth, right? And these are hereditary classes, right? You are born.
I lost you again. You're going
What is going on with my fucking mic? What is going on with my fucking mic?
The Modi government is coming after you.
They are. Modi doesn't like my setup. Yeah, they don't. No, but the long story short is, okay, so the long story short is they were expelled. They were basically, they left as a result of repeated attacks on innocent on civilians done by right-wing fundamentalist groups. But one immediate way of combating that is, if the Modi government actually cared about Kashmiri pundits, then why the fuck have they not done anything about it? They've not done anything. They're still living in squalid conditions, right? If Modi is somehow this protector of the Kashmiri pundits, then why has the Modi administration not done anything for them? They've only been using the Kashmiri pundits as a peg, as a chess piece against to justify the Indian state's violence against the Kashmiri Muslims. Why is the Modi administration not doing anything about that? Right. So that's an immediate counter to that. Another thing that is a bit of that's true is that many of these Kashmiri pundits were part of the Zamindar castes, or they were part of the Zamindar. They were landowners, basically. They were, long story short, they were part of the landowning classes of Kashmir at the time. They were actually, while the Kashmiri Muslims, while the vast majority of Kashmiri Muslims were basically serfs, right? A good chunk of the Brahmin caste, the Brahmin Kashmiris, were basically were landowners, right?
A lot of this sounds like British colonial holdovers.
It is. All of it is British colonial holdovers. They were privileged under the British to some extent, right? Again,
Classic,
does not justify anything
It's like a classic British move.
Yes. So the British basically put them as a divide and conquer rule, as a divide and conquer tactic. And then the other third, I guess, immediate, the other main talking point against the exodus of the Kashmiri pundits is that one of the original, I guess, guys that was pro-Kashmir liberation, that was pro-independent Kashmir to begin with, was a Hindu. He was a Hindu guy, Prem Nath Bazaz, one of the biggest proponents of an independent Kashmir. That was that many Kashmiris will hold up as a prime dude, as a very good guy, is Prem Nath Bazaz, who was a Hindu guy that was pro-Kashmiri independence. Right. So again, they're trying to bring a specifically communal angle, a solely communal angle, which is obscuring the class angle. Yes, Prem Nath Bazaz was a socialist revolutionary and pro-Kashmiri liberation. Yes. So
Okay.
he's a great example of that. And then also another high profile guy, Yasin Malik, who has been detained by the Indian government since, literally said in the aftermath of those expulsions of the Kashmiri pundits that the Kashmiri pundits are an integral part of the Kashmiri citizenry. So they are trying to basically, again, it's not to downplay any of the feelings that the Kashmiri pundits might have, any of the anxieties that they might have of returning to Kashmir whatsoever. A lot of them are justifiably communal angle. Okay, so when I talk about communal angle, that's a good question, actually. When I say communal angle, that is South Asian slang for religious bigotry or ethnic bigotry. That is South Asian slang for religious bigotry or ethnic bigotry. That's what that means. So they're basically trying to make the expulsion of the Kashmiri pundits a solely religious angle or a solely ethnic angle, when that's actually not the case. Right. But again, that doesn't justify any of the it doesn't justify
committed towards the Kashmiri population. One last question for you, nerd. That was promised actually has an interesting question here, but he says you should give your take on India claiming Pakistan orchestrated the attack and Pakistan claiming it was a false flag attack by India.
Long story short, you should give your take on India claiming Pakistan orchestrated the attack. Pakistan, okay, I have a doubt. I doubt that Pakistan orchestrated the attack because as we speak right now, the Pakistani military is currently clamping down on Baloch people in Balochistan. They have their own issues to deal with at the moment.
And aren't they doing they've been doing mass deportations of like Afghan refugees too, right?
That was like last year, but the big thing this year is that they've been mass arresting. They arrested the leader of the Baloch Yakjati committee, which is Mahrang Baloch. They arrested her, and they're still holding her in prison at the moment. And on top of that, the other thing is they've forcibly disappeared many Baloch people, never to be found ever again, many of whom they've disabled permanently. But yes, that is so I doubt that Pakistan is directly behind this. What I think is going on is that, again, a lot of the militant organizations that are operating in Kashmir are generally a lot of them are far right, right? They are, generally speaking, far right, right? And they are. It is true, yes, it is true that Pakistan does support far right fundamentalist organizations. That's true because it specifically undermines India. But again, the bigger thing here is that those groups are a reaction, their blowback to decades and decades of getting the raw treatment, getting the raw treatment by the Indian government. For decades, that is.
Okay.
I don't think it's a false flag operation. I don't know. I don't want to make any declarative statements about it being a false.
So here, this is the point that I was going to make. Pakistan's defense minister told Sky News, "We've been funding terror orgs on behalf of the U.S." Here it is.
You do admit, sir, that Pakistan has had a long history of backing and supporting and training.
I just want to say my life for Pakistan.
And funding these terrorist organizations.
What we hear here.
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for you.
Be careful, dude. All the time they're going to come after you, man.
And West.
I don't care.
Including Britain.
Oh, sorry. He said it again?
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades,
Yeah.
And West, including Britain.
Damn. He said we've been doing this for about 3 decades. We've been doing this dirty work for about 3 decades for the West and Britain.
So that's your argument that
she is dumbfounded a little bit that he just came out and said it.
I mean, that's the thing about Indian and Pakistani politics. We don't give a fuck. Like, we genuinely do not give a fuck. We are extremely honest. That's the thing. Genuinely do not give a fuck. We are honest we are unfortunately vile to a fault. Openly vile to a fault. But yeah, so I don't know whether they did this on behalf of the United States. I don't know whether Pakistan was funding and backing and arming those militants in Kashmir at the behest of the U.S. I don't know.
Why would the U.S. even do that, though? Is it to like make sure that if there's any sort of, I don't know, normalized relations with China, that they could use this as a cudgel against India and try to destabilize India? I feel like
I have no idea, man. That's the reason that I don't know why the U.S. would be super interested in Kashmir.
I think what he's talking about is specifically the Taliban. Like what he's talking about is like jihadist
Taliban here.
Yeah, he's talking about the Mujahideen and the arming the arming of fundamentalist groups that literally got training in madrasas in Pakistan. That is true. That is precisely what he's probably talking about. So I don't think he's talking about anything other than Afghanistan here.
That was a mistake, and we suffered for that. And that is why you are saying this to me. If we had not joined the war...
the other thing that I want to mention is that Nerd makes a good point. It is important to note that Pakistan and India are perfectly capable of fucking over people in the region without explicit directions of the CIA. That is true. Again, India's done a lot of fucked up shit, not at the behest of the CIA. Again, just...
against Soviet Union and later on the war after 9/11. Pakistan's track record, was not, unimpeachable track record.
Defense Minister, I just want to get back to this particular incident in Kashmir and the noises that are now coming out of Delhi. Do you believe this situation is going to escalate and that India will launch airstrikes? Is Pakistan preparing itself for that?
We are already prepared for it, We are already prepared for it. Any eventuality which takes place in next 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 days or week or 10 days, we'll retaliate and we'll react to that, in kind, inshallah.
How will you respond if India does launch a series of airstrikes?
We will measure our response to whatever is initiated.
That sounds in like an insane question. Am I right? Like this is 2 nuclear nations that are not exactly fond of one another. The idea that there would be like, any sort of tit for tat like actual cross-border operations. It sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, because if two nuclear armed powers, like the India and Pakistan going at each other, is probably one of the most dangerous like scenarios we could possibly live in, right? These again, like you said, they're two nuclear armed powers. Like they're two nuclear armed powers. There's no shot that they like if they escalate any further, then we're all doomed. Like that's the bigger problem here. If they, but I honestly in my heart of hearts don't like. I think people have been looking at this from India versus Pakistan lens because of the fact that
Wait, what happened at 11/26? What was the retaliation for the Indian government after the Mumbai attack?
I don't remember. I think I remember them going on I remember them going on a wild on a hunt. It was actually surprisingly very measured in comparison to because that was Manmohan Singh at the time, and they basically went after the guys that were responsible, and they've since been executed. Basically, the long story short is that nothing notable happened in the wake of 26/11. But other than that, like nothing, nothing in the scale of we're gonna escalate with Pakistan. Nothing like that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Arun, for coming on. Is there any last words you wanna impart on us before?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So I mean, you had me. So a couple of things I want to impart. So first thing is, so I know you had a guy from India on. I highly recommend you have someone actually from Kashmir on to talk about this if you're interested. A guy called Azad Isa. I think he's been on Sam Cedars' show before. Azad, I'll send you the link. You should probably have this guy on probably. So that's point number one. Because I can only give you my perspective on the situation as someone from India. And then the second thing is, just a quick question. So whose dick do I have to suck to get you to watch the Grief-Stricken Winds documentary?
No one's dick, but I mean, I'll gladly promote it once again. This is the Tamil massacre done by the Sri Lankan government. The Tamil genocide done by the Sri Lankan government.
Yes, it is the Grief-Stricken Winds. Would highly recommend if you can watch it on stream whenever you can. That'd be fantastic. That'd be great because it is a very similar. Again, the reason I've asked you to watch this is because you will find things extremely similar to what's going on in the West Bank. So that's why I figured it's a very important and very informative watch. I think everyone in the community has, including Mike from PA, has given his seal of approval. Hugo's given it his seal of approval. So, and also, if you can, watch Rohan's Hindutva video if you can. But those are the two main videos I highly recommend you watch. But also at some point, you want to have an actual Kashmiri guy on.
Yeah, I followed Azad, so. And
yeah,
I'm looking at his tweets right now, and he's saying some Indians are already invoking comparisons with October 7, claiming India faces an existential threat and calling for an Israel-like response to the incident in Kashmir. For the media and political establishment, the history of Kashmir will now conveniently begin on April 22nd. The calls for an Israel-like solution are only spiraling online, he says. Talk show hosts are calling for revenge. The army needs to be given a free hand, make things all right. There needs to be a final solution.
Yes.
Said Arnab Goswami on Republic TV.
Arnab Goswami is our Tucker Carlson. Arnab Goswami is the guy that that yells a lot that I showed you earlier.
Yeah.
And then the guy in the first picture is a guy called Anand Ranganathan, who is a genuine piece of shit. Genuine piece of shit of the highest order. People like him, Subramaniam Swamy, Anand Ranganathan literally called for an Israel-style solution for Kashmir. And the thing is so in right-wing Indian circles, there are two solutions that are usually floated to deal with Muslims, and there are two countries that are propped up as shining examples. And this is what they say. They usually either point to Israel as
Israel and China.
Bingo, you got it. Israel and China. Yep, those are the two countries that they point to immediately.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for enlightening us on this otherwise somewhat complex situation.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much. And don't forget to watch the documentary.
All right. Have a good one, Arun.
See ya.
That was ArunAnnow, also known as Indian Hasanabi. I'm known as Turkish Arun, giving us some insight into the situation and hopefully helping people calm down a little bit about the potential escalation. Yale University has become the latest top institution in the United States to ban a pro-Palestine group, this time for protest against a visit by far-right Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. I know I'm going to be talking about that. Don't worry. But before we do that, let's take a look finally at the Trump administration, because I've been teasing that I want to talk about this story for the past couple of days. The Trump administration wants you to fuck. If you're a woman, especially. If you're a part of the 25% in this community, the Trump admin, especially if you're a white woman, the Trump admin wants you to fuck and fuck hard. The Trump admin wants you to be nutted inside of. No pulling out. That's right. Doesn't matter. They want barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Now, let me explain something to you. Where does it say white women? Well, that's the reason why I brought it up. That's the reason why I said white women. Great eye from this chatter who says, where does it say white women? Of course, they don't directly say white women. But the reason why they say you need to do more births in the United States of America, in spite of the fact that the United States, as opposed to other developed nations, has not fallen into the birth rate crisis that we see in places like Japan and numerous other countries, even China to a certain degree, is because there is one thing that the United States of America has done that allows there to be a constant group of younger people that are having babies on U.S. soil. This is, of course, also known as immigration. That's right. Something that I talk about all the fucking time. The only reason why the United States of America did not actually fall into the same birth rate decline that many other European and Asian countries have fallen into, despite being a developed economy, is because of the endless sequence of migration into the country. Migrants that are undocumented have documented children that are born on U.S. soil. So the reason why I say white women is because of that reality. Because if you adjust to the overall birth rates, or if you look at the actual demographic makeup across the board in the United States of America, as opposed to other developed countries, the American nation does not have the same issues. Unless you don't want to have immigration into the country any longer and you want to denaturalize people that are already here and also make it so that birthright citizenship no longer exists. No longer exists. That's the reason. That's the major reason. Don't even get duped by anybody that tells you otherwise. Now, a big part of the reason why American citizens are not having children to the same degrees that they used to back in the day is because of something that many of you that are at that age know very well. Economic concerns. That's right. This is the problem with all developed nations, as a matter of fact. All developed nations have this issue because the more developed you are, the harder it gets to actually have a single parent household or two parent household where there's a single income earner. Okay? That is a major reason as to why people don't fuck as much. That's a major reason as to why people don't have children, especially in a place like the United States of America, where childcare is incredibly costly. Daycare is expensive. Childbirth is expensive. These are the reasons as to why people don't have children anymore, partially because they don't even have time to find an appropriate partner and then to go on a wonderful journey of learning and development and fall in love and then also live with one another and then also get married and have a child and then raise the child. You don't have no time for none of this shit. You have like 10 hours to yourself outside of sleeping, and you oftentimes spend those 10 hours gambling on fucking Roulette or stake.com with the hopes, or DraftKings with the hopes that you can get like a big payout. So yeah, Sigma grind set, baby. Too busy following the cryptocurrency trends with the hopes that maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to get lucky. America has a birthing crisis because we're deporting people, and the only people capable of having children and receiving this credit are white people, and they won't give it to other people. Hasanabi, now you're comparing it to China. Say America will have the same birth rate problems that China used to have, and China does not have high birth rates anymore and will scaffold by Trump raising prices. Am I getting that right? No. I mean, China is nowhere near as bad in terms of the birth rate issue as opposed to a country like Japan or even a place like South Korea. And the reasons as to why they have, you need to look into this more. The reasons as to why they have those issues is because they just don't have fucking free time. I mean, I joke and say it's because 2D women is far too great. Everyone wants Hatsune Miku and no one wants the real deal, but that's just a joke. It's not just about work. It's also about the cost. But the biggest reasons as to why South Korea and Japan especially have these diminishing birth rates is because of what their daily existence looks like. They literally just do not have time to take care of children. It's too costly, and they also don't have time. They're working. You say poor education, except people with poor education, ironically enough, are the people that are popping out babies. People in like, this is why, part of the reason why I yell at people when they say, well, the population increased in Gaza, how dare you say it's a genocide, is because having more children is not indicative. Having more children is not indicative of prosperity. As a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite. Okay? Like, population increased in Xinjiang as well. It's a combination of the financial costs and the cultural problems in South Korea. The gender dynamics in South Korea are incredibly abusive towards women. Why would they want to bang the incels? I mean, that also plays a role in this, but also the cultural aspects are highlighted, or the gender divisions are highlighted as a direct consequence of, I think, people's material conditions. So, what is the Trump administration doing to address this problem? Baby bonuses and menstrual cycle classes are among the ideas pitched to Trump aides as they consider plans of boosting the birth rate. The reality is the cat's out of the fucking bag, okay? The toothpaste out of the tube. What you have to do if you want to force this dynamic is to eliminate birth control and also make it so that women can't work. Like, make it illegal for women to work so they have nothing else to do and they just keep popping fucking babies. That's it. These are that's the only way. If you think that this is if this is a real problem that we have to address, then that's what you have to do. And I fear maybe that's where we're gonna get to eventually, because $5,000 to have a child is not gonna fucking cut it. The White House has been hearing out a chorus of ideas in recent weeks for persuading Americans to get married. Here, let's just listen to it.
White House assesses ways to persuade women to have more children. This article is by Caroline Kitchener and read by an automated voice. The White House has been hearing out a chorus of ideas in recent weeks for persuading Americans to get married and have more children, an early sign that the Trump administration will embrace a new cultural agenda pushed by many of its allies on the right to reverse declining birth rates and push conservative family values. One proposal shared with aides would reserve 30% of scholarships for the Fulbright program, the prestigious government-backed international fellowship, for applicants who are married or have children. Another would give a $5,000 cash baby bonus to every American mother after delivery. A third calls on the government to fund programs that educate women on their menstrual cycles, in part so they can better understand when they are ovulating and able to conceive. Those ideas and others are emerging from a movement concerned with declining birth rates that has been gaining steam for years and now finally has allies in the U.S. administration, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Elon Musk. Policy experts and advocates of boosting the birth rate have been meeting with White House aides, sometimes handing over written proposals on ways to help or convince women to have more babies, according to 4 people who have been part of the meetings who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss private conversations. Administration officials have not indicated what ideas, if any, they might ultimately embrace, but advocates expressed confidence that fertility issues will become a prominent piece of the agenda, noting that President Trump has called for a baby boom and pointing to the symbolic power of seeing Mr. Vance and other top officials attend public events with their children. "I just think this administration is inherently pronatalist," said the activist Simone Collins, referring to the movement to reverse declining birth rates. Ms. Collins, along with her husband Malcolm Collins, sent the White House several draft executive orders, including one that would bestow a National Medal of Motherhood to mothers with 6 or more children. "Look at the number of kids that major leaders in the administration have," Ms. Collins said, adding, "You didn't hear about kids in the same way under Biden." The behind-the-scenes discussions about family policy suggest Mr. Trump is quietly building an ambitious plan to promote the issue, even as he focuses much of his attention on higher-profile priorities such as federal cuts, tariffs, and mass deportations.
Are you
Project
ready?
2025,
I have a solution. Okay. Hear me out. When was the last time everybody was popping out like 8 kids? At a time when maybe some of those children were not making it past like 12 or 13 or 14 due to a bunch of different medical complications because vaccines were not readily available. Okay. The other reason as to why they were popping out like 8 fucking kids was because you needed farm hands. Why would you need farm hands if agriculture is automated? How do we get back? How do we return? Okay, how do we return to tradition? On the one hand, we eradicate vaccines. Shouts out to RFK, big dog in the building, so that you have to at least have like a couple, right? So that you can make sure that some of them will make it past the age of 20. And how do we get back to an agrarian style structure like a fucking medieval peasant? We have a monarch. And we destroy the global web, the international trade that we have designed, okay? Bring back polio, bring back measles, bring back tuberculosis, bigly, destroy global trade, okay? Destroy global trade in its entirety and go back to behaving like the fucking Amish. There you go. You have solved your problem. And if you can't do that because people like their treats and they like their technology and all this shit, then you just basically make it illegal for women to work in the workplace. You make it illegal for women to get birth control. You make it illegal for some people to get abortions and make it very legal and forcible for others to also get abortions. You know, I can't seem to place my finger on it, but there was definitely a group that did that before where it was illegal for some people to get abortions. And then it was not only encouraged and legal, but forced for other groups to get abortions. I just can't, it's been like 100 years at this point, so I just can't remember what country did that. Oh, that's right. It was Nazi Germany. Fuck. That's right. Okay. So yeah, I think that this would fix a lot of America's problems if this is a problem at all. I didn't believe Nathan Tankes when he said this admin was really concerned about birth rates until now. Oh no, they do. They're that stupid. Now, some of you are being real gay and lame and woke in the chat and talking about universal child care. Yuck. That's communism. Children might learn the wrong lessons there, like sharing is caring, or that the government should lend a helping hand in times of need. We can't have that. We should go back. We must return to agrarian peasantry. That's my solution. If this is a problem, the way to fix it is to do degrowth, to go back to anarcho-primitivist structures, to become an agrarian society, or make it illegal for women to work and also make it illegal for women not to have a child, not to be pregnant at all times. Just saying. And you can't really stop women from going to work, especially when they're the most educated in the workforce. So I think the problem starts at education. We need to make it illegal for women to actually go to school to begin with, because you don't need to learn how to read. You don't need to learn how to write. It's going to put dangerous ideas in your head if you start exercising your critical thinking skills. We don't want that. So I think women should also not go to school so that they can't even be competitive in the job market. Eliminating 50% of the workforce, by the way, automatically opens up a bunch of those gay jobs, desk jobs for men who want to do it. Seems to me like I've solved the problem. Pol Pot has some good ideas about societal restructuring, I believe. They had tons of kids, and he hated nerds too. That's right. Yeah, we should do Pol Pot style stuff. Not wearing any glasses. I don't need it. Ethan was right. My glasses are fake, actually. My glasses are fake. They were always fake. As a Pol Pot joke. Oh, Pol Pot, but for only the tech bros? Yeah. Are you still talking about the U.S.? Sounds like what you're describing is the Taliban doing. Maybe they're not so off base. You know you are a lower caste in the Turkish system. What caste system exists in the Turkish system? Would you ever do a history lesson on communism, Pol Pot in Cambodia? I've had Blowback Boys on when they talked about it. Anyway, isn't that a jump to claim this is for child labor? Seems more likely that a white supremacist policy given the 6-child encouragement, which is only sustainable in high income. Wait, I didn't say it was for child labor. The fuck? No, you misunderstood my point. My point is not. No, my point is create an environment where child labor is a necessity so that people will have to have more children. You're misunderstanding the point I'm making, because a part of the reason why people don't have 6 kids anymore is because you don't need fucking 6 farmhands. Do you not understand? So my argument is we have to erode material conditions to such a degree that, like, you need to, 12 farmhands. Well, I say 6 because you pop out 12 and then infant mortality rates take like half of those, right? So then you end up with like 6. Then I'm assuming there's a little bit of back and forth, like a little bit of drama amongst like who gets to retain ownership over the farm. And then there's like a little bit of a knife fight. So by the end of the process, you're left with like 4. Okay. One of them is too physically disabled from working on the farm for years and years. And the other one there's always a very strong boy who also is, not all there in the head, right? So then that eliminates it down to 2, okay? And, they maybe split the farm 50-50. Really specific there. I'm just saying, like, we must return. We must return to tradition. What about the mother survival rate? Nobody cares about that. Don't be crazy. Mother survival rate. You can always just swap out the broodmare for another one. Hello? Does that seem like a society that is good to live in, by the way? Because I don't think that this is the best way to exist. Yeah, it is happening, though. That's true. West Virginia couple charged with trafficking their adopted black children to be used as slaves, authorities allege. This is from June 27, 2024. Also, child labor laws Florida, Arkansas was like one of the pioneers in the child labor laws movement, where they are loosening up the pesky nanny state regulations surrounding such things, child labor. Someone's got to fucking work in the factory. You know what I'm saying? Someone's got to pick these goddamn crops. Eliminate matrilineal marriages so all lands and titles pass through the male line. People will be happy. People are having boys off the chain, so we have more soldiers. Yeah, so great stuff overall. Pro-natalist stuff across the board. Let's take a look at how they're covering it in the
New
media.
York Times reports the Trump administration is considering proposals to encourage more American women to get married and have babies. The incentives would potentially include giving $5,000 in cash to American mothers after delivery and funding programs to educate women on their menstrual cycles. The administration officials have publicly promoted the pro-natalist movement on several occasions.
I want more babies in the United States of America, and I want beautiful.
Ew. I feel like every time we show JD Vance saying that, or Elon Musk saying that, there's like at least 1,000 women that decided to never have children. Like, I feel like it just shuts off. Like, if I was a lady with a vagina, my pussy would just close off at the mere thought of following the commands of this fucking loser, okay? There's just 0% chance. Ain't nobody's fucking after this.
Beautiful young men and women who are eager to welcome them into the world and eager to raise them.
The birth rate is very low in almost...
Ooh, back to back. That's not good. Back to back. Oh, my God. I'm sorry for doing this to the ladies in the chat. Your ovaries are officially dry right now. It's over. You're skipping your period this month, but that's only because this was automatic birth control.
Every country. And it's something, unless
Don't
that
worry,
changes,
you're not pregnant.
Civilization will disappear. America had the lowest birth rate, I believe, ever. That was last year.
I'll be known as the fertilization president, and that's okay.
Oh my God. Barren wasteland down there, dude. Nothing. Oh, the fucking trifecta. All of the grossest losers being like, you're gonna fuck so hard. You're gonna be having so much sex, nutting only. We're putting together a group of police that are gonna monitor through your laptop camera. They're gonna monitor your strokes. And if you pull out, we will arrest you. No more pulling out.
Not bad.
New York Times reporter Caroline Kitchener joins me now to talk more about this. Caroline, thanks for coming on. I know you did a deep dive on this topic. So what else can you tell us about these potential incentives and the overall goal here?
Well, we don't know.
Also, before we get into this, the ethical way to do this is unironically to pay people not $5,000, but basically to treat it as like, if you have a child, it's like a job, a well-paying job. Like, if you really, really, really want to fucking improve birth rates, and that's what you got to do. You got to, on the one hand, reduce work hours and improve wages in general so that a single earner can at least make up for the lack of having two earners in a household. Okay? And child rearing is a fucking job. You have to also make it so that there's universal child care, and you have to pay people. You have to literally either have government babysitters, universal child care, and on top of that, if people don't want to opt into that program and they want to take care of their own children, you have to just pay them like it's a fucking job.
Know what the Trump administration is going to do yet, but I had started hearing from sources that they were...
Sky's the limit, on the other hand, for the depravity of this administration. Maybe they just like fucking create rape brigades. I don't know. They're so psychotic. Like, I don't know where this goes at all. It's very, very scary that this is literally their fucking, this is what they are trying to do though. Like, it is so terrifying that this is unironically something that they are really, really focused on.
Were taking these meetings and they were having these conversations, and they were saying to advocates who care very deeply about the declining birth rate, here, come to us, bring us your proposals. And so that's what they did. And they've really been hearing them out in recent weeks. So I think it's anybody's guess what they're going to do, but I think it's fair to expect them to do something.
As we're talking about this, the national birth rate has declined since 2007. Last year, the CDC reported birth rates are at a historic low. So why are Americans having fewer children, and why is that so significant?
I think there are a lot of reasons for it, and different parts of this movement highlight different reasons in line with their goals. So from social conservatives, from Christian conservatives,
I will say it is kind of illuminating when you consider who are the major people making this advocacy to get women to have more children, because ultimately you gotta have a lady there, right? And it's all dudes. It's all guys. I assume there's some rabid, psychotic Christian women out there that are a part of this process too, but like most of the people who are like, you need to fuck, ladies, you need to fuck, are all dudes. So wonder what kind of cool ideas they will cook up.
About, the crisis of the traditional family and how media and politics is giving women kind of a different idea of what they should value, that they should value work over family. You hear them talk a lot about how people are having babies later, getting married later, or not getting married at all.
Yeah, look at this. 5K won't even pay for 3 months of daycare. This baby bonus is going to incentivize the wrong people. Ooh. A little bit of racialized element there, you know what I mean? I thought you just wanted to improve birth rates. Why are you fantasizing about who is giving birth now? Interesting. We have GOG, Groyper occupied government. Yeah, it's not what David Duke thinks. It's not All the white supremacists that said it was Zog, Zionist occupied government, were wrong. We have Groyper occupied government. It's true. It really is true, which is so fucking gross. Like, JD Vance is as close. JD Vance is a Groyper, and he is one heart attack away from being the president. Words cannot describe how bad of an idea this is. This is an absolutely horrible idea. Anybody that broke doesn't need a child. Average people don't want kids because it's too expensive. This feels like it just encourages bad parents to have more kids. How do you encourage awesome people to have more kids? I like that everyone's main concern here is eugenics. Like, we're going to... Also, you're in the comments of a Fox News YouTube video, okay? If you are a commenter on a Fox News YouTube video, you are the bad person to have children, okay? By your estimation, in your mind, you're thinking black and brown people are just going to have kids to get more money from the government, but it's actually you that is the bad person that shouldn't be having children then, okay? Not the awesome people. Anyway, great stuff.
All. And that's a really big concern for a lot of people that are very close to President Trump and this administration.
You say the desire to increase funds to help mothers and babies could collide with other administration priorities. What do you mean by that?
Well, we've seen big cuts in a lot of these agencies that are very relevant to some of these goals. For example, in the Department of Health and Human Services, we saw.
Yeah, why? I wonder why people are not having children. Let's see. America's home buyers are getting older. Wow. I wonder if that has something to do with it. Also, repeat buyers is crazy. From 1981 to 2023, repeat buyer average age is 58. All buyers is 49, and first-time buyers has gotten up to 35 years old. Repeat buyers are a median age of 58 in 2023, while first-time buyers were at 35. We're talking about a different profile of home buyer today. By the numbers, the median age of all buyers increased from 31. All buyers. The median age of all buyers in 1981 was 31 years old. It shot up to 49 in 2023. So you're fucking basically 50. Its record high was 53 last year compared to 42 a decade ago. I wonder, home buyers continue to be mostly white.
Damn, this guy's good.